This is Rugby Radio
with Stuart Cameron.
Brought to you by Borders College.
Hello and welcome to Rugby Radio, which comes to you live from Philippock in Selkirk this afternoon. We're here for the 3 o'clock kick-off between Selkirk and Kelso in the Premiership. At the bottom of the Premiership, of course, there are games going on as well, including the Hawick against Jed Forest match, where we're following that. Hawick at the top of the table, Jed Forest at the bottom. But full live commentary here from Ewen Welsh and Scott Tomlinson for the game being played at Philippock this afternoon. We'll also be covering the 2 o'clock games as well, keeping you up to date with the latest scores as they happen, plus chats with one of Scotland's top referees, Steven Turnbull, and President of the Scottish Rugby Union, Colin Rigby, who's here today to officially open the refurbished stand. But let's begin though with a look at the games being played today across the country, starting in the Premiership, and it's Glasgow Hawks against Curry, a 2 o'clock kickoff for that one. Heriots Blues against Musselburgh, 6 against 4th, and Mar in second place. They're going to be playing Edinburgh Accies, who are in 5th place at the moment. Hawick Jed Forest, that kicks off at 3 o'clock, top against bottom, as I've already mentioned, and Selkirk Kelso. Interesting this one, because Selkirk are in 8th position and Kelso are in 7th. So lots of interest in this one, particularly as Selkirk won at Pointer Park early in the season. In National 1, it's Biggar against Glasgow Accies, 8th against 3rd, GHA against Watsonians, Ayr against Gala, top of the table, unbeaten Ayr against Gala, GHK against Dundee, and Melrose are at home to Highland at the Green Yards this afternoon, that game kicking off at 3 o'clock. In National 2, we've already had a postponement. Berwick against Lasswade is off because of a waterlogged pitch. Aberdeen Grammar will take on Newton Stewarts, Gordonians against Stirling County, Kirkcaldy v Stewmel, and Peebles against Falkirk. And in National 3, Orkney are at home to Boroughmuir. That's a game that's actually kicked off. We'll find out the latest on that very, very shortly. Cartha Queen's Park against Hamilton, Dumfries against Allen Glens, Howard Fife against Preston Lodge, and West of Scotland against Hillhead Jordan Hill. And just look at Division 4 today, top of the table, unbeaten Garnock play Greenock Wanderers, Murrayfield Wanderers against White Craigs, that is off. North Berwick against Strathmore, Perthshire against Ross High, and Stewartry will play Dunfermline. from the Maisonettes on Rugby Radio. 25 to 2 is the time. In Orkney, I told you that was a 1 o'clock kick-off against Boroughmuir. It's 10 points to 0 for Orkney early doors, 2 tries for them. The only other score we have at the moment from an earlier kick-off was Aberdeen Grammar against Newton Stewart. That's kicked off a little bit earlier as well, and it's now 5-0 to Newton Stewart. Newton Stewart, one of the teams in the top 4 in Division 2 at the moment. Well, let's bring you interviews with both camps from the game today, starting with Sesh Henderson, the head coach at Selkirk. Well, Sesh, fair to say conditions are a little bit damp underfoot today. What's your own thought? The pitch is looking great at the moment, but I think it's going to cut up a wee bit.
It will cut up, definitely, just these conditions. I think it'll be a case of who makes the less mistakes, who keeps their discipline, and who takes their chances when they do come. And I think if we limit our mistakes and keep our discipline, I think hopefully we'll get over the line. A
lot of matches off last weekend, including all the Borders teams, of course. So how have you been able to prepare for this one? Same for Kelso, of course, as well.
I think firstly we're disappointed initially that the game being off last week, but it's also on the flip side it's given us an opportunity for some injuries just to clear up a little bit more. 2-3 guys in Dubai last week, so they're now available. So we're pretty much back to full strength. So the 2 sessions have been pretty positive during the week, even though the conditions are getting have been pretty wet. But however, the guys are pretty switched on and are keen for another border game today.
Well, you won at Pointer Park against Kelso. Not many teams are going to be doing that this year, so a rare opportunity to get a double over them today, and I'm sure the lads would definitely like that going into Christmas.
Yes, of course, we just want to get a home win, and it's, we've got Kelso today. We know what they'll bring. They'll bring lots of physicality. They'll play in the right areas, and they're well coached. So we know if we need to bring our best defensive effort today to make sure that we keep them out. And
on paper, a fairly even pack battle today. That's going to be very interesting.
It will be a battle, without a shadow of a doubt, and both parts will know that. Whoever comes out on top of that will be close to the points.
Well, we've seen some high-scoring derbies, some involving Selkirk, of course, this season, the famous 65-35 down here. Don't think we're going to get that today, not with these conditions, but it's certainly going to be an interesting tactical affair, isn't it?
I think so. I think both teams want to get in the right areas of the park, then put the ball where the space is, and there'll be wide-to-wide contact, edge play today. I don't think, not all the time, but we'll have a go when it's on, and I think we've got the backs now to really execute. And the passing skills if we need to go wide, we'll go wide. But you're right. After that, once we get into the red zone, it'll be forwards. It'll be a hard shift for them today.
So, what's your team news today? Any late changes?
This one on the bench. Blake Cullen's called off. So we've got young Lachlan Ferguson, who's been out injured for some week. Well, actually since we played bigger in pre-season. He's come back. He's actually going to have a run out for the seconds for a wee while and come across and go on the bench because a late call off. So he's just buzzing to get back on the park and get some game time. And he's a talent himself.
Well, the top 4 is probably just a little bit beyond you at the moment. 9 losses, of course, but just 5 games to go, and relegation unlikely to be an issue. Let's be frank. How do you keep the interest going for the squad for kind of like mid-table? Is it a case of just looking after your own performance and seeing how well you can do between now and the end of the season?
Well, in my mind and the players' mind, there's still a lot to play for because we started late. And we need to finish with 5 really good performances and pick up points in every game. We've only went 3 games this season without getting points. We've had a lot of bonus point wins. We've had 5 or 6 bonus points from 7 points or less, or scoring 2 tries and more or so. But we want to get wins. Ultimately that's our goal, and that's we want to try and finish on in 5 really good positive performances, or that would be disappointing, particularly in the work we've done in the last 3 or 4 games.
Well, we certainly wish you the best today, and let's hope, despite the weather, we'll get a good game.
100%, it'll be a good one.
Sesh Henderson, the head coach of Selkirk. Well, we're going to hear from Kelso Director of Rugby, Neil Hinnigan now. I spoke to him earlier in the week.
Kelso, for the first time this century, got into the Premiership, and they've done pretty well so far. What's your assessment at the halfway stage?
Yeah, I mean, overall, obviously pretty pleased with how things have went. We got off to a reasonably good start with 2 draws, and looking back now, some people say 2 wins, we could have been sitting 4th or whatever at that point, but there's also the fact that it could have been 2 defeats. So, Yeah, we're quite happy where we are. We're challenging ourselves week on week rather than, we did have goals, and we continue to be actually hitting those goals. They weren't too unrealistic for our first year up, and I think everyone would probably have thought that was an obvious thing. So we've kept it simple, and we're now challenging the squad week on week, and we're actually making a good job of that as well. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
What was the target initially when you got into the Premiership?
Yeah, well, most people would say, you've got to stay up, and I mean, that's an obvious statement, but we aimed a bit higher. We thought if we could finish in the top 6, then that would be a really good season. Now, there's obviously a prize of being top 4. I think the top 3 is out of reach. I think everyone would agree with that, but being 4th would be a possibility for us, but we never ever challenged ourselves for that. We've never mentioned it. We've just mentioned being top 6. If we can finish 5th, 6th, even 7th wouldn't be the end of the world. So that's been the overall target, was to be in that mid-table and out of the relegation battle was the main objective.
And you certainly achieved that. You're above Jed Forest and Selkirk and Glasgow Hawks as well, and a couple of good wins, and all of a sudden, you aren't that far off the top 4 positions. You mentioned the top 3, the Hoyks, the Curries and the Mars, of course, who are in a league of their own, let's be honest about that. But you did struggle away from home against them, but you do have them at Poynter Park, and we've seen what happened, a big turnaround against Hoyk.
Yeah, of course, and these are the challenges we face, and it's picking your battles, Stu. You've got to look at where we are as a team and as a squad, and we just, we can't just take on everyone full Boona all the time, because we've not got a big enough squad at this point, and we're ever building on it. But those matches away from home were really tough, and if anything, it grounded us very quickly, and it gave us a bit of a shock, especially Hoyk away. And since then we've been ever improving, I think. So yeah, having the likes of Mar and Curry still at home, to beat one of those sides would be a big statement on our first year up. So it'd be great to be able to achieve that. But as everyone knows, that's a very difficult thing to do, and especially when you're just finding your feet in the Premiership.
Everyone likes to think that their home ground is their fortress and very hard to beat. One team that did beat you, though, early on was Selkirk, and you've got Selkirk this week, so revenge on the mind. Well,
yeah, of course. I mean, in a border derby, you want to win every time, no matter what the circumstances, and probably is a little bit extra on this one, given that they came to Poynter and beat us, and it was a match that we felt, in many ways probably Selkirk stole it, but I think they deserve a lot of credit for that, because to get that situation, they had to work hard and stay in the game, and they did that very, very well. I think we got the kicking game all wrong that day, and looking back at it, it was one that probably got away, but we in a border derby, you could play well all game, and the opposition doesn't still beat you, and that's the great thing about border derbies. Anything can happen. I don't think home advantage is even a big thing in a border derby. I think sometimes the pressure on the home side can be harder, and hopefully that's the case for Selkirk this week. They maybe feel they slightly need to win more as us. I don't know how they feel about it, but I would say that if we can make amends for that defeat at Poynter by winning at Philplock, then that would balance itself out for us.
And how's the team looking for this week?
Yeah, pretty good. I think we've got a fully fit squad, give or take. No excuses or complaints that way. I think we've not had a game for 2 weeks, Stu, so we're actually a bit undercooked. Probably that's probably going to be our biggest problem, is that we've not had rugby for around 3 weeks when we play the Selkirk. So that's a problem, but that's what happens in a season. You've got to overcome that. So
you've got a few old heads in there, Bruce McNeil, Hasty, Tate, and these sort of names, but a lot of youngsters coming through who have really made the mark this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always more excited about the younger guys coming through than obviously the more established players like say Bruce McNeil and Keith Melbourne and these guys, Hasty and that. They've all, you expect that from them, but we've taken not a gamble. I think it was a fair, these guys have earned their space. They've trained hard. The likes of Murray Woodcock's having a great season. Martin Asante's now involved with the training squad with the 20s. He's in the final 32 or whatever. I mean, he might get cut from it yet, but he's in there. And we've got Angus McGregor, Loosehead, and Archie Barber. Archie's having a good season at fullback. So there's a lot of excitement around these youngsters, and it's been a while since Kelso's had players that are in the 20 squad and things like that, and we're immensely proud of them. That's one thing. We really are proud of them down at Poynter Park, and we'll do everything we can to keep improving them. And we're trying to be this overall Premiership side, not just taking part in it. We want to be developing players for the future.
And a word about Dwayne Patterson as well, who's really come on strong in the last couple of years and has now really worked his way into, well, certainly we saw him play for the south of Scotland in the matches last season. A guy who's got a tremendous future. Yeah,
Dwayne has. I mean, Dwayne can be frustrating for us at times as well, because he's so good that he takes a lot on himself as well, and he's always hungry to get on the ball, and it's absolutely outstanding. That's what you want from players like him, and he can turn a game himself. He can win you a match. He just needing to get that bit game management about him, and he can find his position and stick to that as well. So he's got a lot of work on as well, doing, but he has got all the attributes you'd want from a player. His tackling's good. His defence is really good for his size. Pound for pound, he's a strong guy. Does a lot of gym work. His kicking ability is obviously great. He's got feet work, he's got pace, he's got everything you want. So, he's got a big future. I mentioned at the start of the interview about the fact that Kelso have come up for the first time this century into the Premiership. One of the reasons for that is because you traditionally had a lot of farm workers who were available for probably only half the season, if that sometimes. Yeah. But you've managed to get over that now. How did you get round that issue? Yeah, I mean, we've still got farmers around the squad. Obviously that is a part of the Kelso makeup, and there's been a bit of change in culture and how we do things, and they'll tell you themselves, the ones that are involved in that they've had to come in and maybe play through the Sharks setup and train for 2 or 3 weeks at a time to catch up, and then once they've caught up, they're obviously fair game to be selected. So that's actually encouraged some of them to maybe make an effort to get there when they can. So it has a knock-on effect, but to counteract it, we really had to take a harder line. So we did, and luckily for us, it's paid dividends. It's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you're heavy reliant on them. But luckily for us, as I say, we've got a bigger squad that we can shuffle things about a little bit to make it work. And as Director of Rugby at Kelso, you're looking after the Kelso Sharks, you mentioned, the second team, but also there's the Kelso Harlequins, there's the Kelso Ladies as well, so it's an all-inclusive club, and in fact the only club in the Borders at the moment that has a women's team that's actually performing at sort of national level, which is great for the future, and the Quins, of course, are through to the youth final as well. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're really, really supportive of Kelso Harlequins. I mean, that's our lifeline, that's where the heartbeat is. If it's the middle of the road for players coming through, and lately we've had some cracking players. Obviously, we've just spoke about them coming out through that system, and then before that, there's obviously the high school pitch in Murray Hasty doing YDO, and the girls' system starting to be the same. I mean, it's taken time, but they're always working at it, and they put a tremendous amount of effort in to try and keep that going as well. So there's a lot of people at the club making a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work. It's a huge collective effort from a lot of people to make this what it is now, and hopefully it continues to grow.
That was Neil Hinnigan talking to me earlier in the week. He's the Director of Rugby at Kelso. Latest score in the 1 o'clock match at the moment is Orkney 10, Boroughmuir 0, and Newton Stewart have scored 2 tries now at Ruberslaw. It's Aberdeen Grammar 0, Newton Stewart 13. And after the break, we'll be talking to the President of the Scottish Rugby Union.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
If you're looking to develop or hone your green skills, look no further than Borders College, your local community college. Visit borderscollege.ac.uk today. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whisky making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house, and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs, from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
You know
Well, I haven't heard that one in a long time. German band, I think, called Can and I Want More. Their one and only hit, a big top 10 back in the 1980s. This is Rugby Radio. 1:55 is the time. 3 games in the Premiership kicking off at 2 o'clock today, including Heriots Blues against Musselburgh, but also Glasgow Hawks against Curry. That's taking place at Balgrave. We can get the thoughts now of Hawks head coach Andy Hill.
It's always an enjoyable game v Curry. They're probably going through their most difficult season. I think it would be fair to say that they've had in the new Premiership with the transition of players that they've had. You know, they've lost experienced guys over the last couple of years in terms of Fair Scott, Mike Verno last year, and Gregor Hunter, which are obviously big players for them. But the one thing you'll always expect from a Curry team is that Mark and Ali have them really well prepared. They're 2 great coaches with great experience, and you know, Curry play a great brand of rugby, so it makes it for a really entertaining game. But our big focus is, and we've said, is that our season is all about, you know, firsts, and we've yet to beat Curry in this new Premiership, so that's got to be what we're trying to do this weekend when we get the chance to go back to Balgrave and play, because despite a few really close games against Curry, they've always come out the better side of the results. So that's got to be a focus again, turning that for the boys this weekend. So we look forward to getting back to Balgrave and taking a real test against, you know, a team who are aspiring to be top 4 to see where we're at.
Another game at 2 o'clock today is at Fullerton Park between second place Mar and Ember Ackies in the Premiership, who sit in 5th place and have plenty to play for. Head coach of Mar is Kenny Diffenthal.
Boys are very disappointed at not having any rugby at last weekend, so are raring to go. The last time we played Ackies, we didn't really put our best foot forward, so hoping to improve on that performance anyway. But we are under no illusions of the challenge ahead. So yeah, hopefully the weather holds out and we can have some rugby this weekend. As I say, the guys are raring to go. So hopefully Saturday brings decent weather, so we can have a good game of rugby for everybody to enjoy. But the guys are ready for it, and it's going to be another tough test for us.
Kenny Diffenthal, head coach of Mar, will be keeping an eye on progress in those 2 o'clock games throughout the afternoon. Of course, we've had some earlier games as well. We've noticed, of course, that it's very dark come 3:30, so a lot of the teams have actually pulled their matches forward a little bit. Orkney kicked off at 1 o'clock against Boroughmuir in National 3. Orkney just 1 place behind Preston Lodge, but unbeaten this season. They have a 10-0 lead. In National 2, it's Aberdeen 3, a Dan McElderry penalty. Newton Stewart 13. Newton Stewart have scored a penalty and a couple of tries in there as well at the moment. Berwick against Lasswade is postponed out of National 2. National 3 postponement as well. Cartha Queen's Park against Hamilton, and also off Murrayfield against Whitecraigs. That's postponed in National 4. We have a latest score from Milltown. Langham 0, Leith 7 is the latest score in East League 1. Well, earlier I spoke with the Scottish Rugby Union President Colin Rigby. He's here today to officially open the refurbished stand here at Philip Hoch, and began by asking him how he's enjoying his role as president into his final year in that position.
Oh, it's a privilege to be president of the Scottish Rugby Union. You know, I think the last 15 months or so we've done a lot. We've gone through a governance change. Obviously we've had both the ladies and the men's World Cup. So yeah, it's great. It's great getting out and about. It's great going round clubs that you wouldn't normally get to go to. In fact, in many respects, it's a bit like being a referee, because you can go to different places that you wouldn't normally go to.
And it's good as well, because nowadays you actually get to shadow as a vice president as well, the president, so you get like a year experience before you get into the role.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's quite crucial, is to understand how different components work. Because it's like any business. Once you get inside to see what actually happens, there's lots of good people doing lots of good things, and volunteers in clubland, they're like gold dust.
And you took over from Ian Barr, who was very much a club man at Lasswade, and Keith Wallace will be the next president, very much a club man. You're obviously a club man as well. But how much clout does the Scottish president actually have these days, particularly on behalf of the clubs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're the focal point for clubs to take into account any decisions that's being made. I think this year we've held an incredibly successful club day with the rugby development team, and that's now going to be firmly fixed in the calendar. And the point of that is where we'll discuss most of the club items or any issues or any solutions that are going to come up.
What about the best bits then of the role? Because obviously I'd imagine looking after Princess Anne is always a nice thing on International Day. But outside of that, there's a lot of good things about the job.
Oh yeah, look, don't get me wrong. The national team, both the men and the women, is the pinnacle, along with our patron, Her Royal Highness, and I think we are incredibly lucky to have her as our patron and how involved that she's in the game. But actually, the clubland is the bedrock, the grassroots is where everybody comes from. Nobody turns out at Murrayfield without having started at a club first. So I'm comfortable going around the clubs, and I've been to some fantastic clubs this year, at Alloa, Greenock Wanderers, Carnoustie, just seeing what's actually happening and what their aims are.
And of course they look to you as well as their voice piece, someone that they can talk to get things done. What's been the talk within Clubland? What are the things they're happy about, and what about the things that they're not too happy about?
I think at the moment we've had an incredibly successful club day. We're embarking on a 10-year strategy. We've probably had about 600, 700 inputs into that from club members. And we then in the autumn ran a series of workshops. So now it's how does the CRB, the Club Rugby Board, now shape that into a strategy that can take things forward. What do they shout about? A lot of admin. And I think that's one of the things that we need to get smarter at, is how can we use technology. So forms can be pre-filled, so not having to constantly fill in the club name, the club details, etc.
And of course, I'd imagine they all want some money as well, don't they? Which isn't always possible.
Yeah, always want money, and that comes down to choice. But I think ultimately, we've got a lot of passionate people in Clubland that want real rugby to evolve and continue, and they'll devote hours upon hours to that. And that's one of the reasons we're doing the social impact in rugby report at the moment.
Well, there's still 4 or 5 months to go that you're in the position of president. What do you want your legacy to be?
I'm not really into legacies. I think what I want to be able to do is when I hand the baton over to Keith, that we've evolved as a game, both on and off the park.
And what happens after you give up that presidency? Presumably you don't leave the Scottish Rugby Union. There'll be some position for you within the setup.
Yeah, so in the new governance you do 2 years as an immediate past president, so you remain on board as a custodian, and really that role then is to help mentor the incoming vice president, because you've got a whole load of knowledge that you've now built up over the last 4 years. It's how do you do that knowledge transfer.
And it's interesting as well, because I remember in the hustings you were up against Keith Wallace as well before you got your presidency, and you beat him on that occasion. He's going to be the next one in. Working together, because you're two very different characters.
Absolutely.
How does that work?
I actually think it works really, really well, because I believe we certainly complement each other in our way of thinking and our way of doing things. So I'm having an absolute ball working with Keith, and I'm sure he hopefully would say the same.
And more from that interview very, very shortly.
The West Sea, we didn't have much idea of the kind of climate waiting. We used our hands for guidance, like the children of a preacher, like a dry tree seeking water, or a daughter. Nice and sleazy does it. Nice and sleazy, does it every time. Nice and sleazy, does it every time. Nice and sleazy, does it. Lisa does it every time. Nice and sleazy does it. An angel came from outside, had no halo, had no father, with a coat of many colours. He spoke of brothers many, wine and women, song of plenty. He began to write a chapter in his story. Nice and sleazy does it. Nice and sleazy does it. Nice and sleazy does it. Does it every time.
Music from the Stranglers. Well, latest scores we have for you in National 2 should I say. It's Aberdeen Grammar 3, Newton Stewart 13. Latest at the Gites, it's Peebles 3, Falkirk 3, a penalty each. Glenfold scoring the latest for Falkirk there. In National 3, Orkney 17, Boroughmuir 7 is the latest score, and that game kicked off at 1 o'clock. And a reminder of the postponed matches in National 3 and 4, Cartha Queen's Park against Hamilton and Murrayfield Wanderers against White Craigs. Both matches are off. Latest in East League 1, it's Langham 7, Leith 7. Langham coming back after conceding a try and conversion. Well, let's return to that interview I had earlier on today with Scottish Rugby Union President Colin Rigby. Well, I think when it comes to the club game, something which has worked very well is the 10-team leagues now for this year. It's kind of reduced the season a wee bit. We've seen, obviously, we've had some pretty bad weather in December already and the end of November, and that's going to help us get the seasons completed. What was your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, the clubs have wanted 10-team leagues. It's been something they've been discussing for many, many years. I think it's worked. So, it'll take a couple of years to see where it comes into, and of course they have the Inter-District Championship now to look forward to as well.
And that's a real positive.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, although it just had its first season last year, coming down to Gala, Edinburgh the South, big crowds, big atmosphere, culminating in the finals in Glasgow.
There was something like 1,500 at Gala for the South game against Edinburgh, and that was amazing, because that was a wet, dreek Tuesday evening, and it shows you the appetite for districts. Now the district is back, and it's back in its full form, so everyone's going to be playing each other, which is fantastic. On top of that, you have the Super Series, obviously, which has now been going 5 years. What are your own thoughts? Because I know there's lots of reviews about, has it worked, has it not worked, what has worked, what hasn't worked. What's going to happen, do you think, in the years ahead?
There's a whole load of work that's going on behind the scenes, and it's all about how do we get retain players. How do we get players playing at the right level, and how do we bring the next generation of players through? It
is a work in progress, isn't it, the whole thing?
Oh, absolutely, it's a work in progress, and there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes by a cross-section of the Rugby Society looking at these things.
Now, of course, as I say, we've got the league system, which seems to be working fine. Okay, we've now got 5 national leagues, effectively, and I know that from the SRU's perspective, they would probably prefer 4 leagues, but the clubs themselves voted to have this extra division. Do you think we're going to be able to sustain that over the next few years, the 5 divisions?
Look, ultimately, it comes down to what level do clubs want to play at. There will be some clubs that don't want to play national rugby. There will be other clubs that want to play regional rugby. I think it also depends where you are in the Scottish geography. Regional rugby in the north is entirely different to potentially national rugby if it's in the central belt. So it's really up to the clubs to make their decision, what helps them develop as a club and retain their players. And
we must have a word about Orkney, who are doing tremendous things at the moment in Division 3, looking as if they could well get promotion. They're up against Preston Lodge, of course, at the moment, who are also doing well. But it's a real success story, isn't it, from a place way north to actually come through week after week. They're travelling. It's a hard thing, and yet they're on the brink of National 2 rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that just shows they go off the island every second week. And not just Orkney, there's other clubs like Caithness. I mean, I met them in Mackay. They just had a 5-hour bus journey to Mackay to play a game to go back 5 hours. We forget that Scotland is geographically a big country, and I take my hat off to the commitment not just of the players but also the volunteers to make that happen.
And it is commitment, isn't it? I mean, above and beyond, like in the Borders or in Edinburgh or whatever, it's a different level.
Absolutely. I mean, in Edinburgh we can struggle to get past the bypass. And these guys, every second week, it's just a way of life for them and their supporters that come and follow them.
Now, National 1, 2, 3 and 4, the winners at the top of the table at the end of the year will be crowned champions. Doesn't happen in the Premiership. We have the playoffs, obviously, and I think you know my views on the playoffs about that. I just find there's a credibility problem there. What do you feel, from a personal point of view, taking off the SRU hat at the moment, do you think that is a good thing, the playoffs, or not? To me, the winner of the league should be the champions. What are your own thoughts?
In an ideal world, you'd have two awards, one that wins it in the normal and then the other team that wins the playoff.
Yeah, now that would be a good compromise.
Yeah, I think the great thing about the playoffs is it keeps people excited to the end of the season. So that would be that would be my wish.
But of course this year National 1 Ayr have run away with it effectively, and it has been a concern for some of the clubs that how do they get motivated, because between 2nd and 6th place at the moment, some real good tussles, but Ayr are more or less home and host.
Yeah, a couple of bad results, everybody is back in the mix, and it's the same at the bottom end of Nat 1, Nat 2, Nat 3. You're a couple of results either way, and the league looks entirely different.
And National 2 and 3 and 4, that is exactly that. There's some great tussles about at the moment. I mean, National 1 used to be the league that kept on giving. Now it's National 2 and National 3, certainly this season. I mean, you look at the top of the National 2, you've got Peebles, you've got Falkirk, you've got Newton Stewart and Lasswade as well, within a couple of points of each other. Fantastic.
Absolutely. So, I think that's what we want. We need competitive leagues. The more competitive the leagues are, the more entertaining it is for the sponsors, spectators and volunteers.
Let's come to the Cup then, because it's been a difficult thing to administer this year with the Borders teams pulling out and 4 others as well. It's been, as I say, a hell of an administration job for the good people at the SRU to try and make this work. What's your own thoughts on it? Because it is going ahead.
Yeah, look, clubs want a cup, there's other clubs that don't want a cup, and I think it's an excellent compromise that before the cup starts, do you want to take part, yes or no? And if the answer is no, we can then get on and do the draws for those that want to do it, rather than we get through to the typical January, February when your games are called off. So I'm happy with the compromise we've come to.
And just finally, where are we at as far as club rugby is concerned at the moment, as far as the Scottish rugby is concerned?
Look, I think we're in a good place. We've got entertaining leagues, we've got a good number of participants in both the men and the women's game. Do we want more players? Absolutely. And I generally think going forward, a lot of work has to be done around the retention of players and how we transition both boys and girls into the senior game.
Well, we've certainly seen an improvement when Ian Barr came in, and then yourself, and I'm sure that will be carried on behalf of the clubs by Keith Wallace as well. Lovely to see you here today. I hope we get a good game despite the weather, and
I'm sure we shall.
Enjoy the rest of your presidency.
I will indeed. Thanks very much, Stuart.
Good to talk to Colin Rigby, the SRU President, earlier on today. It's 40 minutes after 2 o'clock, and this is Rugby Radio with me, Stuart Cameron, and let's bring you up to date with latest scorelines, because the 2 o'clock matches are now 40 minutes underway. Glasgow Hawks 0, Curry 10 in the Premiership. A try converted by Curry first of all, and they've just added a penalty to that. 10-0 to Curry at the moment. Herits Blues 0, Musselburgh 3 is a later score. Mar 0, Edinburgh Accies 3, and Appleton penalty for Accies in the game being played at Fullerton Park. Don't forget Hoyk and Jed and Selkirk v Kelso, both 3 o'clock kickoffs for today. In National 1, the only scoreline we have at the moment, GHA 3, Watsonian 7. Matt Pritchard scoring a try. GHA going ahead with a penalty early on. Still no score between Biggar and Glasgow Accies, and 3 games kicking off at 3 o'clock in National 1 today. Ayr against Gala, GHK against Dundee, and Melrose versus Highland. In National 2, it's Aberdeen Grammar 10 now, Newton Stewart 13. So Aberdeen Grammar staging a bit of a comeback. They were 13-0 down. They've scored a converted try to add to their earlier penalty, 13 points to 10. And at the Guides, it's Peebles 10, Falkirk 3. A try and conversion in response to Falkirk's penalty, and of course a penalty early on for Peebles as well. Big top of the table clash at the Guides. Peebles 10, Falkirk 3. That game kicking off at 2 o'clock. And Orkney have got a try bonus in their home match against Boroughmuir. That was kicked off at 1 o'clock today. Orkney 22, Boroughmuir 7 is a latest score. And in East League 1, Langham 7, Leith 12 is also a later score. Well, one of the most well-known referees in Scotland is Steven Turnbull, who's based in the Borders. He popped in during the week for a chat about plenty of things. It's a very interesting interview in which we talk about referee abuse, the new laws, how they're going down, the difficult task of getting new referees into the game, many other topics as well. But I began by talking about the decision by Tom Foley to step down from international rugby following abuse he received while being TMO at the World Cup final.
Well, let's start then, Stephen, with the news that Tom Foley and Wayne Barnes, two of the game's top referees, have stepped down now, citing online abuse as one of the main contributory factors. What can be done about this?
I've been involved in rugby since I was 5 years old. I've refereed for 11 years and I've never seen anything so unprecedented like this, where two international referees with 160 international tests between them have stepped back from the game because of abuse they're suffering. Unfortunately, this is a reality in our domestic game as well across Scotland. We've seen a rise in the number of cases of abuse that are happening towards referees, both here in the Borders and across Scotland. And I know from our members in the Borders and colleagues across Scotland that they are really concerned about this. Last season there was 30 cases reported and sanctioned of match official abuse. Bans in those cases range from 3 weeks in one case to up to 30 weeks in another case. In this season we've got 10 already, but I don't think that is a true reflection of the picture that is happening across the country. Rugby is a passionate sport for a lot of spectators. It's open to interpretation in terms of the laws we have in the game. So I think the challenge for people is understanding that yes, you can be passionate about the game, yes, you can be one of the 70,000 people who are refereeing the game from the stands at Murrayfield, but at the end of the day it's up to the referee in the park to make the decisions based on what they see on the pitch. And for me, one of the biggest issues is people understanding that there is often on a Saturday afternoon just one person refereeing the game, and we go out to do our best that we possibly can to referee what's in front of us. And yes, we are humans, we make mistakes, we always put our hands up and admit that, and it's what we do to learn from that in a constructive way with spectators, coaches and players. And of course players make mistakes as well, probably more. I certainly wouldn't come off the park and criticise the winger who missed a tackle for the try in the corner, or the squint line out, or the ruck that wasn't defended that was then turned over that led to a try. I don't criticise players or coaches in the way they plan their games. So I wouldn't expect that kind of abuse to come towards referees. We need to work together to make the game better, because ultimately, as we always say, without the referee there is no game. Absolutely. And international referees, they're televised, obviously, those matches, so everything is scrutinised, and the players know that they are mic'd up, everyone's mic'd up, we can hear everything that's happening. So I guess that helps the fact that the abuse to the officials themselves on the pitch is kind of cut down from what it used to be. But of course, what Tom and Wayne are talking about, and other referees as well, is this online abuse, which probably we don't get at the lower level as much. We don't. Unfortunately, the presence of the ability for somebody to hide behind a blank profile on social media allows them to say what they want in a way that they think is appropriate to how they're feeling at the time. Unfortunately, though, we do see in the domestic grassroots game the abuse happening on the field, so people don't hide behind those social media profiles, and we do see the abuse. And let's be honest, physical or verbal abuse in society is unacceptable, so why in a game that we build on the principle of respect should we draw abuse into rugby? And I'm really concerned at the way in which people are conducting themselves around the parks, and this is not just at the top level of the Premiership where we're seeing vocal spectators or angry coaches, for example. We're seeing this right down to under 16 and under 18 level games, and what kind of example is that to set to the people who are going to be our hopefully next international and support the international referees that we've seen step down from the game? Well, at the moment, what is being done is, in match programmes, a little statement which people never read, let's be honest, and just before kick-off they will read out a statement, and then it's kind of ignored, because I won't mention any names, we don't need to mention any names, but we know as soon as that announcement has gone, the whistle has blown, there is abuse from the stand. Obviously only a couple of individuals, but people are very passionate about the game who
probably don't even realise that they're doing it at the time. It's very difficult to manage, isn't it?
The problem is when one or two people start shouting obscenities at the referee on the park, that then goes around everybody else, and they start to jump on the bandwagon.
And no one's policing it, are they? That's the thing. It says this will not be tolerated, but it is being tolerated because there's no one sort of in the stand, a steward or whoever, who's actually cutting down on this.
Rugby is a community game, and I listened to John McGuigan on with Tom English on the BBC podcast, and he talked about club rugby being the bedrock of Scottish rugby. And for me, club rugby is only successful if you have the referee to contribute to that club to make sure the games happen. So referees are part of clubs across the country, and for me, clubs need to take responsibility for setting good practice. I used the example a number of times of young people kind of jumping on the bandwagon of abuse because they hear their coach do it towards a referee. So for me, clubs do need to take a responsibility, but people themselves as individuals need to take responsibility. Take a second to think, is this acceptable? And they probably will come to the conclusion with some of the things they shout. It's not acceptable. And it's like, we talk about social media, think before you click. It's the same when you're shouting something, because although it might not seem like it at the time, that does have a significant impact on a referee. They are human. They take things to heart. And the next time they arrive at that club, they may have an underlying intimidation within them that they're scared to engage with that club properly because they're worried about what their consequences could be from what people say to them. So,
what is the solution then, or is there a solution?
There are a number of solutions. I talk about personal responsibility as being one thing. There is also a need for referees to more readily report abuse that they suffer at games, and that could be primarily from players or coaches, but also spectators as well. That can be reported to Scottish Rugby. My concern is that when it is reported, there is such an inconsistency in the sanctions that are handed down to the people who are being accused of abuse. So we talk about in one case there was a 30-week ban, but we had a similar case that got a 13-week ban. For me as a referee, that raises concerns, because if we're reporting abuse that we suffer on a game day, then we don't feel that it's being dealt with appropriately. And I've heard that both formally and anecdotally from colleagues across the country. So there is more that needs to be done to support officials to report abuse. There's more to be done with education in terms of the role that match officials play. And there's also an acceptance that referees, like players and coaches, make mistakes, and that is just part of everyday life, and we need to accept that and help our referees and make sure that coaches and clubs are constructively working with referees to identify challenges in the game, but also look for improvements.
More from Steven Turnbull and that interview very, very shortly indeed. Some latest scores for you, and Aberdeen Grammar have taken the lead against Newton Stewart. That's a bit of a shocker in National 2. And of course Newton Stewart with 13-0 up there. Newton Stewart, one of the teams who could well be going for promotion. There's four of them: Newton Stewart, Lasswade and Falkirk and Peebles. And Aberdeen Grammar 13-0 down, but they're now up 15 points to 13. 2 tries under the belt there. Of course they're bottom of the table at the moment. Berwick aren't playing today because their match has been postponed, but a chance for Aberdeen to go off the bottom of the table there. That's a game which kicked off at 1:30 today. In the Premiership, it's Glasgow Hawks 5, Curry 10. So Hawks getting a try back there. Heriots Blues 0, Musselburgh 10. Musselburgh getting a try through Michael Badenhorst. Mar 7, Enbrackis 3. Mar taking the lead with a Scott Bickerstaff try early on there. In National 1, it's GHA 10, Watsonians 10. Matt Pritchard scoring a try for Watsonians. Dario Ewing just pulling one back for GHA in his 100th appearance for GHA, and Watsonians just kicked a penalty to level things there. Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7 in the latter stages of that game at the moment, a game that kicked off at 1 o'clock. It's still Peebles 10, Falkirk 3 in National 2, and Langham have taken the lead in East League 1 against Leith. The score there 14-12 to Langham.
Play that song, the one that makes me go all night long, the one that makes me think of you. That's all you gotta do. Hey, Mr. DJ, when you gonna spin it? My
my baby's favorite, 'cause she been waiting for me. She invited all the friends, and I'm buying all the rounds, and they're all dolled up. DJ, please don't let me down. When you gonna play that song? When you gonna earn that pay? When you gonna play that song and make my day? She said, play that song, the one that makes me go all night long, the one that makes me think of you. That's all you gotta do. Hey, 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 play that song, the one that makes me stay till dawn, the one that makes me go ooh. That's all you gotta do. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, Mr. Guitar, when you gonna strum it? My girl just heard the song and you should play it 'cause she loves it. Can you get me off the hook? Get them fingers picking now. I'll throw some money in your cup. Mister, please don't let me down. When you gonna play that song now? Why you gotta hesitate? When you gonna play that song and make my day? She said, play that song, the one that makes me go all night long, the one that makes me think of you. That's all you gotta do. Hey, 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 play that song, the one that makes me stay out till dawn, the one that makes me go ooh. That's all you gotta do. Oh, where do you see my baby move, move, move? Where do you see my baby move, move, move? Oh, come on now, play that song, the one that makes her go all night long, the one that makes her think of me. That's all you gotta do. Hey, hey, play that song, the one that makes her stay out till dawn, the one that makes her go ooh. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do.
Music from Train, and you listen to Rugby Radio on a Saturday afternoon. 29 minutes after 2 o'clock is the time. Latest in the Premiership: Glasgow Hawks 5, Curry 10, Herrick's Blues 0, Musselburgh 10, Mar 7, Inverrackie 6. A second Appleson penalty reducing the scoreline there. GHA 10, Watsonians 10, Aberdeen Grammar 17, Newton Stewart 16 is the latest at Rubislaw, and Peebles have got another converted try. It's now Peebles 17, Falkirk 3 in the top of the table clash in National 2. Peebles in second place, Falkirk in first, and it's all over in National 3. The 1 o'clock kick-off: Orkney against Boroughmuir. Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7, and all 5 points going the way of Orkney in that one. Latest in East League 1 is Langham 14 and it's Leith 12. Well, let's go back to that conversation I had with Steven Turnbull, one of our top referees.
Are we finding that the bans are actually working in certain cases?
I think they are, because it sends a clear message, particularly if you've got a lengthy ban. It sends a clear message that it's not acceptable. My concern is, and something I raised with the SRU when I was president for 2 years of the Referees Association for Scotland, was we need to publicise these bans. So if people are being banned for match official abuse, then there is no reason why we shouldn't be going public with that in some form of media release. Now, the SRU are reluctant at the moment to do that. I think we can influence them slightly a bit more to make sure that does happen. But I think that would send out an even clearer message that, maybe not even naming the individual concerned, but naming the club that they're affiliated to would send out a clear message that it's unacceptable and you will be called out for it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And in fact, at the moment, somewhere on the SRU website, and good luck if you can find it, there's a list somewhere, isn't it, of all the sanctions, etc. But certainly you have to really dig deep to get to that place in the first place. So certainly not enough is being done to name and shame.
I wrote on behalf of the Referees Association some months ago to the SRU, setting out a whole range of things that we thought were of concern about the discipline process and what could be done to rectify it. We provided solutions and actions that should be taken forward. Part of that was do not hide the sanctions at the final part of the website for somebody to have to dig and find. We also talked about things like making sure that match officials were supported at discipline hearings. If you look at players in the modern game who have the luxury of support from a number of experienced legal representations, and rightly so, they deserve a fair trial as anybody would in that situation, but referees are not allowed to be supported by anybody, and I had to fight quite vigorously to make sure that one of our new referees who had given his first red card was supported at a hearing, because it is a very intimidating environment, and having been there myself as a referee after issuing a red card, it can be a really difficult environment to be in. So simple solutions such as that, and making sure that we are highlighting the level of abuse. And one of the things the SRU will turn around and say to me is, well, there are not a number of reported cases, so we can't suggest that there is a trend in the game, but you only have to take the anecdotal feedback from our referee community to say there is a significant issue and it needs to be dealt with. Because at the moment we're trying to recruit referees, and unfortunately we've got some young people coming into the game, but it's not attractive if they think or they hear from their peers that they're going out on a Saturday afternoon and are suffering 80 minutes of abuse and thereafter after the game as well. That's not acceptable.
I was going to say, it is a big own goal, isn't it? Because you're trying to get referees into the game and they're seeing and reading all this stuff at high level as well and at low level. It's very difficult to balance that with the positives.
If I look in the Borders, we've recruited 10 referees already this season. I will not say that that's the solution to all the issues that we have talked about a number of times with the challenge with the number of people we have in the game. We simply do not have enough referees, and we're still in a pretty critical position in the Borders. 10 of those referees have been recruited, which is great. 2 of them have left as a result of the way that they feel they've been treated across the game. That in itself is an example where we brought 2 new people into the game who are going to contribute, have experience of the game, yet they have decided that they are undertaking a hobby. And remember, this is a hobby for 99% of referees in Scotland, and they're just simply not going to accept it. And I fully support them in that. But we have to do everything we possibly can to bring those 2 individuals back, but also more people.
The last time I interviewed you, you said that the situation was critical, which was about a year and a half ago.
I would say we're still in a precarious position. I talked about those 10 referees that we had recruited. Helps ease the burden somewhat. But we have retirements, we have people who are injured, and we have people who are doing 2 or 3 games a weekend. So, to sustain that level of commitment, undoubtedly you're going to be injured at some point in the season. So we still have an issue, and it's not just in the Borders. I talked tentatively about the challenges that we've been seeing across Scotland, and speaking to my colleagues in the Edinburgh and the West Society, for example, they are suffering the same issues. They do not have enough referees to fulfil the games, and if I look at the winter period, and I talked about this during COVID, that we've probably been let off by the fact that some games have been postponed as a result of weather or as it was back a year or so ago by COVID. So that is not a healthy or sustainable position. And I won't sit here and say that referees societies are the only people who are facing challenges in the club game. We look at the number of clubs who simply cannot get teams out onto the field every week. So there is an issue across the club game. I know Scottish Rugby are looking at strategies and blueprints for the game, and we will be developing a national match official strategy which hopefully will alleviate some of these issues, but there's no short-term fix unless we get numbers into the game.
Interesting stuff from Steven Turnbull there. 25-3 is the time. Here's some more latest scores. Glasgow Hawks 5, Curry 10, Heriots Blues 0, Musselburgh 10 and Mar 7, Edinburgh Accies 6. They are latest at the moment. National 1, GHA 10, Watsonians 13, Watsonians Wiltonians have just taken the lead with a penalty there. And how about this at Ruberslaw? Aberdeen Grammar 20 now, Newton Stewart 16. That game kicked off at 1:30, so still time to play in that one, but big comeback from Aberdeen Grammar, bottom of the table against Newton Stewart in third. Newton Stewart haven't been beaten for about 8 games. I think they lost the first 2 against Falkirk and Lasswade, and have won everything since then, apart from the draw last a couple of weeks ago against Lasswade. So they've taken the lead in that one. It's 20 points to 16, and that's significant as far as Berwick is concerned, because Berwick are just above them in the league. Berwick, their match has been postponed today, and that one was against Lasswade at Scremerston, but a waterlogged pitch. So 20 points to 16 to Aberdeen in that one. Peebles 17, Falkirk 3 in the top of the table clash at the Guyts. And I mentioned earlier the Orkney game is all over. Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7, a game that kicked off at 1 o'clock. And East League 1 finally, Langham 17, Leith 15. A bit of a ding-dong battle going on in that one. OK, back to the final part of the interview with Steven Turnbull.
A lot of players, of course, think they know the game much better than the referee sometimes, don't they, with their own opinions. But there doesn't seem to be as many coming through and stopping playing and then becoming a referee. Is there more work to be done there?
There's more work to be done. I think it needs to be part of our national match official strategy for Scotland, not just here in the borders. I think one of the biggest challenges is people come to a certain point in their life where other commitments come in the way, and I've talked to you before about the challenge that we had post-COVID, where players and match officials found kind of new hobbies or family life took over. So we need to try and encourage people to understand that it's not a huge commitment. It can be if you want it to be, but it's not a huge commitment initially. And you can actually get a real lot of enjoyment out of a Saturday afternoon giving back to the game. And for me, it's making sure that people understand that without those referees, without the experience of people who've played the game, then we simply cannot have the standard of game that we want to see. If we look at the second 15 league that was reintroduced back in the borders, primarily playing on a Friday evening, the standard of rugby there is excellent, and is really giving our officials a good opportunity to test themselves at a high level, because ultimately you have some players there who are sitting on the bench for the first 15 on the Saturday afternoon. So the opportunities are there for people to really develop and get back to the game as well as themselves.
And we've seen a lot of local referees go on and do some really good things. I mean, going back to the Changling days and the Burrells and all these people. But I mean, since then we've had Andrew McMenemy, who's come into the game, got to a very high level as well, and Mike Adamson obviously, and Holly Davidson, Michael Todd, Graham Ormiston. A lot of referees that we're familiar with in the borders, might not be necessarily all from the borders, but people who we see regularly and have gone on to do big high profile television games.
We just need to look at the moment. I think we have about 6 match officials who are borders born and bred, who are on the high performance panel with Scottish Rugby. So Sam O'Neill, for example, is out in Georgia at the moment. So those are just some examples of where you can go with your refereeing journey. And we look at the success of Mike Adamson, Holly Davidson, Sam Grove-White, who have come from the grassroots rugby right up through the ranks. Holly Davidson being the first female referee to officiate in the Six Nations in February. That is a great achievement, and that just shows what you can do with a bit of hard work and commitment, but also a passion for the game and an understanding of the game. And we can give you that within the Border Society as the starting point to push on up to wherever you want to be.
It's important as well, isn't it, for a referee to take the right approach. I mean, there are tough referees, if you like, people like Michael Todd, for instance, who would, take no prisoners. He lays down the law and that's it. And you've got people like Graham Ormiston, who kind of chats his way through the game. Different personalities deal with things in a different way. What's the ideal way of doing it? Is there a sort of a way that referees are taught to manage a game?
In my view, you can't teach personality, you have to bring that with you, but what you can be taught is how you implement that into the game. So one thing I always say is refereeing a game of rugby is, yes, about implementing the laws, which are open to interpretation, but for me it's primarily about game management and player management and people management. So the way in which you deal with people to get the most out of them. We talk about the warnings before a yellow card, for example. How do you deal with a captain? How do you start to change player behaviour, and what responsibility do you take for that? So I got challenged by a reviewer when I did the People's game the other weekend, that I was probably a little bit too friendly with the players. But actually, if I look at what I got from the players, was probably more than I would have had it been quite shouty towards them. So everybody has to find their own technique to deal with players, because let's be honest, they can be quite a challenging bunch at times.
Oh, they certainly can, there's no doubt about that. And what about the new laws this year then? We've had the tackle height, which is the big one. We've had the 50-22, which has been I think welcomed all round the board, and the dropouts at the from your goal line, that sort of thing. Tackle height obviously is the big one, and I think from day one it was communicated that you've got to learn from day one. Some referees were a little bit more lenient, for better or for worse. But how, we're halfway through the season now. How's it gone down?
It's definitely a learning journey for referees, players and coaches and spectators as well, who are watching the game, trying to understand what it is we're trying to achieve. And when it was brought in July, it was all about player safety and making sure that tackle height reduced, and back to the basics of what we were taught when we were minis, about cheek to cheek and making sure you're getting as low as possible to make the tackle, which in some cases can result in a better tackle than going high. I would say it's been a difficult journey. We had feedback from France when they were introducing the trial that it was really, really difficult. It took them quite a few months for people to really understand what they were trying to achieve and how to do it. And it's changed the way in which people coach, for example. In terms of the officiating side of it, I would say it's been a mixed bag. It's been the topic of discussion at every single one of our referee meetings, which happen on a monthly basis, and indeed nationally and down here in the Borders, because people are trying to understand where the consistency can be better. And I think there was probably an element of go quite tough at the start of the season for some referees, or go a bit lenient to allow people to adapt. We're now probably in a position where referees are understanding that we need to be tougher, particularly on upright tackles, which seem to be creeping more into the game, and we're seeing the second tackler targeting the ball, so going particularly high. So we're working a lot as a referee group to make sure that we're more consistent, because the statistics from some of the games about the number of high tackles that should have been given in law haven't been given was quite concerning at one point. But I think we're making progress, but it's definitely still going to be a journey, and I don't think by the end of the season we're going to have it right, both from a playing, coaching and refereeing perspective.
A very interesting chat with Steven Turnbull there. And if you fancy having a go at giving something back to the game by becoming a referee, get in touch and we'll put you in touch, certainly, with Steven and his team at the Borders Rugby Referees Society, which is now celebrating its 60th anniversary. Latest scores: Glasgow Hawks 5, Curry 10 in the Premiership. It's Herrick's Blues 7, Musselburgh 13. A penalty being added to Musselburgh's score. Mar 7, Edinburgh Accies 6. Half time at Fullerton Park. Appleson kicking the points for Edinburgh Accies, but a Scott Bickerstaff try converted by Colin Sturgeon the scores in that low scoring affair at Fullerton Park. In National 1 it's GHA 17, they've just scored a converted try. Watsonians 13, Aberdeen Grammar 20, Newton Stewart 16 in National 2. Don't forget, if Aberdeen Grammar can hang on with that and win, they could go above Berwick in the table, because Berwick have not got a match today. Their match against Lastwaite has been postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. It's half time at the Gites. It's Peebles 17, Falkirk 3. In National 3, National 3, Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7 is a full-time result, and the match in National 4 between Murrayfield Wanderers and White Craigs has been postponed. Latest we have from Milltown in East League 1, it's Langham 17, it's Leith 15. Well, in the Premiership today, it's the other border derby at Mansfield Park between Hawick and Jed Forest. Covering that game for us is Alan Lorimer.
As if we need reminding, today's Premiership match at Mansfield Park is top v bottom, so it would be a brave man who would bet against a Hawick win, and one that would extend the Greens' unbeaten home record this season. Hawick have probably not peaked yet this season, but their performances so far have seen off visitors to Mansfield Park, and the expectation is that this trend will continue this afternoon. Jed come into this 14th round match of the Premiership still without a win, and with only 4 championship points, and seemingly destined to suffer the drop at the end of the season. season. It's still arithmetically possible for Jed to turn everything around, but that would require winning all the remaining matches with bonus points, and for Glasgow Hawks, who have 2 games in hand, and indeed 10th place Selkirk, to have a catastrophic run towards the end of the Premiership season. Very unlikely. So for Jed, the focus must now be on building for next season and structuring their pathway that allows some of their talented youth players to move up to senior rugby. Jed are without Rory Marshall and Harry Meadows for today's game. Brodie Irvin and Nicky Bates coming into the starting lineup as a result. But the good news for Jed is the return of Lewis Elder, who's at fullback today, and Dan Wardrop, who joined skipper Clark Skelton in the second row. Hoyt will be minus their dynamic back row Jay Linton, who is serving a 4-week suspension after being cited for an off-the-ball incident against Kelso. As a result, Connor Sutherland moved to his optimum position of blindside. Conditions will be pretty miserable today, but that, as many will point out, comes with playing rugby in the winter months.
Alan Lorimer, who is covering that match for us today at Mansfield Park. It's Hawick against Jed Forest. Well, of course, coming up very, very shortly is the match down here at Philiphock. It's a biggie as well. It's Kelso against Selkirk, or should I say Selkirk against Kelso, as it's at Philiphock, and the stand has been opened, the refurbished stand, should I say, here at Philiphock. And we'll be back very, very shortly with more news.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Borders College is your local community college with qualifications recognised and valued by employers. To find out more, visit borderscollege.ac.uk today. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whisky making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs, from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
What a good place to be. Don't believe it, 'cause you speak a different language and it's never really happened to me. Don't believe it, oh no, 'cause it's never really happened to me. No, it's another night out with a bus, following in footsteps overgrown by mice, and he tells me good women go on trees, and if you catch them right they will land upon the knees, where they open all the wallets and they close all the minds, and they love to buy you all a drink. And if we ask all the questions, and you take all your clothes up and back to the kitchen sink. What a good place to be. Don't believe it, 'cause you speak a different language and it's never really happened to me. Don't believe it, oh no, 'cause it's never been happened for me. No, good place to be. Don't believe I speak a different language and it's never really happened to me. Don't believe I, oh no, 'cause it's never been happened for me. Don't believe I, don't believe I, don't believe I. It's happier again and again and again. It's happier again and again and again. It's happier again and again and again. It's happier again.
Music from the House Martins. I didn't realise Scott Tomlinson could actually dance, but he did to that one, and he's joined us now at the back, or at the front of the stand. It's the new refurbished stand as well. And Scott, you've been involved as a player and a coach, of course, and a referee. You've done a few Selkirk Kelso games in the past. Pretty wet out there at the moment, but a great build-up and a great local derby.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Stuart. I think it's been raining heavily for the last couple of hours, and the pitch has actually held up really, really well. But you can see where they've been warming up just now. That mud's starting to come through. Selkirk are already in the shed already. They have been for about the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and Kelso are buzzing outside warming up. So I'm really looking forward to the game. Hopefully the crowd will come down. There's a lot of cars certainly here just now, so they're just making their way out the car and onto the pitch ready to watch the game.
What goes on in the changing rooms in a match, a local derby like this?
I think it's important. I was just thinking that earlier on, there's a lot of blood and guts and snot going on as well, but really it's about detail today, making sure that we get the lineouts right, getting your scrum time right there, and getting their plays, probably playing in the right area of the field as well. It's really important. The last thing you want to be doing is mucking about in your own 22 in situations and games like today where the weather has been atrocious, and it certainly will come onto the field at one stage.
That means there's going to be lots of penalty opportunities today.
Penalty opportunities, and also you're looking for that parity up front. Kelso for me are a good pack just now. Selkirk, possibly on paper, I've got probably a better pack, but Kelso for me are playing together more as a team at the moment, so that'll be interesting to see how all that pans out. People like Bruce McNeil against Westlake, the Boroughmuir Bears player that's now came back into the Selkirk ranks just now, will be an interesting match-up today. It'll be interesting to see what goes in there, because Bruce McNeil will not hold back at all.
No, I've never known him to do that, that's for sure. But we've mentioned the pack, of course. What about outside there? Because, we've got sets of three-quarters who love to run the ball. They're not going to have so many opportunities today, or if they are, they're going to be stuck in the mud.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Dwayne Patterson and Frankie Robson as a captain and as a leader, really going forward. Andy Tate there at 9 as well. Always produces the goods every game he plays for Kelso, so it'll be interesting against that Josh Welsh, who's been going really well on the wing for Selkirk again, really back to his best. Ben Pickles is now playing outside centre, who's playing well just now and scoring some tries. And you've got the old guard on Ross Nixon, who will try and support and hold that frontage there, in the centre of the field.
Now Ross, he's 56 years old now, isn't he? It seems as if he is. He's been going a long time. He told me he desperately wants to be playing in the back row, but he's out there in the centre where we're kind of familiar with seeing him.
I think Selkirk needs him. Selkirk need that type of player, that maturity there that can gather a game and grab the game by the hand at some stages there and support it really well. And he's one of those players there where he can play in the back row, he can play at 10, he can play at 12. And Selkirk, if they want to win the game today, they will need somebody like Ross Nixon there being in the Selkirk side.
Well, we're not far away now, just 6 minutes away from kick-off, thanks to Scott Tomlinson. He'll be summarising for Ewen. Welsh will be doing his first commentary for us today. We're looking forward to that coming very, very shortly indeed. But in National 1 today, Unbeaten Air trying to make it 13 games on the trot. They're at home to Gala at Millbrae. Coming up, the words of Gala Director of Rugby, Ewen Swinton. But first, let's hear from Air head coach, and that is Grant Anderson.
Gala, they'll be physical up front or physical across the pitch. We ended up in a bit of an arm wrestle that day down at Netherdale, which we managed to come out on the right side of. It wasn't one of my happiest or most pleasing performances that the team put in, but we had a job to do that day and we managed to do that, so I was pleased with that. We'll look to execute, and this was a massive theme for us last night. It's basic skills to a high standard under pressure, with our decision making and our technique and our ball carries and lots of different things that we're trying to do. That will be the focus for us on Thursday and then going into Saturday. We're obviously wanting to continue with our focus for this block of 4 games. We're now into the third of 4 games, so we've set process targets for that, and I'm looking to make sure that we execute those. I'm looking for a big defensive display as well, because when we played Gala down there, I felt like we were defensively a little soft. Gala had done their homework on us, so that was interesting to see. They posed us different questions, different problems, and we handled that quite well. So looking for that to happen again on Saturday, and the boys are desperate to get back at it. So yeah, looking forward to Saturday.
Certainly not a situation where we go up with any kind of fear of playing against Ayr. We know that we can take them on, particularly out wide. So I think that we seek as much parity as possible in the forwards, and then get guys like Scott Peppers, Murray Wilson, and the rest running at them hard, and with the real determination that we've shown recently. Our backs don't go down easily, so I think the chances of keeping the ball live and open are very real, and we have a game that can give Ayr a real challenge. There's no doubt that Ayr are the predominant force in the league just now, but that makes them a tremendous target. It's fun to go and play against teams like that, because you're not going with anyone's expectations on your shoulders, but we're becoming a side that can be quietly confident that we can do things, and I think a big performance is certainly coming along for us, and who knows, it might be this weekend. So we'll travel up to Ayr full of confidence, very realistic about what we're facing, what we need to do to counter it, but we've got ability. Let's go there and show it.
Ewen Swinton, Director of Rugby at Gala. Before that, Grant Anderson from Ayr, the head coach there. Now also National 1, Melrose against Highland at the Green Yards. Head coach for Melrose is Ian Chisholm.
We're excited to welcome Highland down to the Green Yards, and based on the performance up at Canal Park, we still gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game despite playing with 13 men for a large part of that. You know, we had a scrum that was going backwards at a rate of knots, and the pleasing thing for me is that we're working things out in the hoof. We're finding solutions to the problems that we've got. The guys they're getting their heads together, they're hot reviewing, and they're just coming up with an action plan to take us forward. And as a coaching group, we can't be there to give them answers all the time. You know, we have to empower them to make decisions themselves without actually coming to us and saying, what do you think of this? You know, we need them to show a bit of intent themselves and a bit of endeavour themselves, and we see that quite often from them. But of course it's about putting actions to our words. You know, we've been hurt a few times this season. Glasgow Accies one of them, Bigger at home was another one, and Ayr away was another one. And every week it's a new set of 7. It's a new opportunity for us to have a go and try and meet our performance measures and let people enjoy pulling on the jersey with their pals.
Ian Chisholm from Melrose, the head coach, taking on Highland just a few miles down the road. Here's a couple of latest scores for you. Glasgow Hawks 5, Curry 10 in the Premiership. Heriots Blues 7, Musselburgh 16. Mar have scored a converted try. It's their second of the match. 14 points to 6. They lead at Fullerton Park against Edinburgh Accies. And National 1, GHA 17, Watsonians 13. And Aberdeen Grammar look to be picking up a big surprise at Rubislaw. Aberdeen Grammar 25, Newton Stewart 16. Remember, Newton Stewart with 13-0 up early on in that one in National 2. But Aberdeen Grammar 3 tries in the bag for that one. That will certainly be a concern for Berwick, who are currently just 1 point ahead of them. Falkirk scored a couple of tries at the Guides. It's now Peebles 17, Falkirk 13 in the top of the table clash there. And as we mentioned earlier, Orkney against Boroughmuir. Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7 in National 3. And in East League 1, it's a ding-dong battle at Milltown. Langham 17, Leith 24 is a latest score down there in East League 1. Well, we're not far away from kick-off here now in the Premiership derby between Selkirk and Kelso. We're going to hear from summariser Scott Tomlinson shortly, but it's a very good afternoon for the very first time as commentator to Ewen Welsh.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. Good afternoon, everyone, from a very wet and soft underfoot Philip Hawke, where Kelso have arrived to face the suitors, having not played for 21 days, looking to try and get a winning run going in the remaining league games, which would leave them within a shout of a playoff place, while Selkirk will look to use the remaining games to build on performances and start preparing for next season. The home side are relatively unchanged for the side, who were heavily defeated here a fortnight ago by Mar, and Callum Anderson retains a 15 jersey with Finlay Whelans and Josh Welsh on the wings. A midfield of Ben Pickles and Ross Nixon is supported by Aaron McComb at standoff and Hugo Alderson at 9. In the park, the front three are unchanged, with Petty, Bet and Zvarzak lining up, with Andrew Cochrane and Colin Turnbull at 4 and 5. The flankers are the reliable Andrew McComb and captain Scott McClymont, and Kieran Westlake makes his third appearance for the club at number 8. Meanwhile for Kelso, young Archie Barber retains the fullback shirt as he has done all season, with Nick Stingle and Robbie Tweedy on the wings, and outside centre Dwayne Patterson is supported by the captain Frankie Robson wearing 12. The familiar partnership at half-back of Andy Tate and Murray Hastie is unchanged. In the forwards, James Glendinning comes in at hooker and is supported at prop by Grant Shields and Terry Logan. Cammy Thompson and Keith Melbourne are in the boiler house, and the back row is made up of Liam Tate wearing 6, Cammy Brown at 7 and the veteran player coach Bruce McNeil at number 8. Now before we get started today, there is going to be a minute's silence for Selkirk captain in 1973 Dave Firth, who passed away recently. Now his family are the match ball sponsors today, and his great grandson is the mascot as well, so the players are coming out through the tunnel now. We're on the pitch, is lining up for this minute's silence, and after the minute's silence we'll hear a few words from my co-commentator today, who is Scott Tomlinson.
Today, Selkirk Rugby Club pays respects to our captain of 50 years ago, Dave Firth, who sadly passed away last month. Dave was a great friend and teammate to many of us here at Selkirk, both at the Rugby Club and with a hoot. Well as a popular and respected opponent throughout the rest of the borders. We'll now hold a minute's silence on the referee's whistle for Dave Firth.
A minute's silence there for Selkirk stalwart Dave Firth, who passed away recently. Now alongside me today is a man who was probably knee deep in a rugby career before I was even thought about, in the shape of former player, coach and referee Scott Tomlinson. And Scott, a win and even a 5-point win for either of these sides would be massive as we head into running. It's set up to be a cracker aboard a derby, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it. There's been a lot of rain the last couple of hours, so you can almost guarantee there'll be loads of blood and snot. Up front, physically, Kelso have an excellent back row in Bruce McNeil and Cammy Brown. But that's obviously against the Kieran Westlake, who's come from Boroughmuir Bears, and Scott McClymont and Andrew McComb, who have been really good players, district level South players at the moment. So, no, looking forward to it. Be interested to see what happens. That was very poignant with Dave Firth. I mean, he was a great club player for the town, so yeah, it was very worthwhile doing.
Dwayne Patterson for Kelso then gets us underway. Kicking from right to left, attacking the town end of Selkirk, and it is picked up by that man Westlake, who hits up first for Selkirk. It's going to be a very muddy affair, this. Players already muddied up for the warm-up, and Selkirk will now clear the lines, and it's Alderson. Kicks it into the Kelso half, and it's collected by Archie Barber, whose first kick of the day is a little bit skewed, and it does go out on the full. Ian Herd on that far touchline, and a bit of a nervy start there for the Kelso fullback.
Yeah, to be fair, it was a nervous start for the scrum half as well. Hugo Alderson's been playing really well for Selkirk, a good young player, and we're really looking forward to seeing him today again under a different circumstantial conditions. And Archie Barber's been playing well this year as well, and people are starting to speak about him as well as a potential player that can go a lot further. So now looking forward to see how they realise these conditions and see how they cope with it all.
Selkirk line out, and it's collected by Kelso in the end, a bit scrappy, but the referees called that one back, and it was Bruce McNeil that actually stole that line out as it was overthrown, and it'll be a scrum down. The first scrum of the day is going to come the way of Kelso, and scrums are going to play an important part today, Scott, you would think.
Yeah, set piece is huge. Sometime and line outs, just getting that detail right. You can see that first overthrow of the line out there with Selkirk, it's got to be key. A key performance, and Bruce McNeil and Andy Tate will be part of that Kelso scrummage as well, ensuring that they have the parity up front.
So Kelso who will have the first scrum of the day inside their own half, and Andy Tate, who has plenty of experience, will be the man to feed it in. It'll be a very important day for both nines. A lot to do, a lot of breakdowns you would imagine, and Tate feeds it in. in the first scrum of the day. Holds steady, and Bruce McNeil picks up at the back of the scrum and allows Frankie Robson, the captain, to attack for the first time. Tate recycles, and they go again. Grant Shields hits up and is supported well. Tate now thinks about clearing it and does so by giving it back to Murray Hastie, who puts a high one into Sky. Doesn't go very far, still stays in the Kelso half, although Kelso have regathered it, and it's been well collected by Nick Stingle, the ex-Jed Forest man. Takes it and they've recycled it, and Kelso now breach into the Selkirk half, and they put a kick in through Murray Hastie. It's collected there by Finlay Whelans. Gives it to his fullback Anderson, who puts a clever kick in, but they've worked their way now back into the Kelso half. In early stages, Scott, it's been a bit nip and tuck.
Yeah, that was clever by Kelso. I was watching them in the warm-up and they were absolutely buzzing pre-warm-up. But you know, if you're going to kick down Callum Anderson's throat, Callum Anderson's got a great boot in him, and he'll pin you back into the halfway line if you don't get that kick right. So interesting tactic early doors by Kelso.
James Glendinen's going to throw in for Kelso at the first line-up for Kelso, and again it's a bit scrappy, and it's left Terry Logan with the ability to try and clear this one up. Does a fairly good job of it, and it's got men in support there, so Andy Tate can recycle and Kelso can pick away at this. Andy Tate try to call the shots from the back of the breakdown, and this time he comes towards this side, and Murray Hastie puts a kick in. Thought there was some space, and it's been picked up by Aaron McComb, who's got a little bit of time to think what he's going to do. Puts a kick up into the sky. Selkirk tried to recollect that, and it's been again a bit scrappy. And it's allowed for Alderson to have a bit of a run himself. Again, the ball's kind of bouncing about all over the place, just inside the Selkirk half as they try and get a bit of a grip on this game. That's Schwartek that's managed to clear it up. A bit messy at this point, and it's Selkirk who have the possession just outside their own 22. Looks like they've had a chance to get a bit of a breather by just recycling this ball, and Alderson will decide what he's going to do with it. Again, it's a box kick, better than his last one, and Bruce McNeil, the veteran Bruce McNeil's thought he'd knocked it on, but the referee allowed it, and he's quickly picked himself up and went on attack. Again, the breakdown was a bit messy, and Selkirk have turned it over. Referee's seen enough. It was a knock-on by Selkirk, and just been a bit scrappy, Scott.
Yeah, scrappy because the defence is, they're winning that 50%, they're pushing up in their face. It's got to be that type of day where the skill level has to be really high, juggling those wet, muddy balls. So if you can get up in their face and put pressure on it, and both teams have done that already. Selkirk's 50% was really good early doors. Kelso just had a wee section there just now where they're putting pressure on 9 and 10. And that's them just trying to get that, find out who's got the better skill set today. Just almost sticking their chest out and deciding who's going to be the better player and team in the day.
Yeah, the half-back partnerships are going to be important today. And for Kelso, they have got two long-term players in Andy Tate and Murray Hastie. And it will be Andy Tate who's going to feed into this scrum. Just inside the Kelso half towards this stand, which was officially opened today by Colin Rigby. And Bruce McNeil's picked it up at the back of the scrum. Manages to get it away at Frankie Robson just in time. And Frankie Robson's hit up, Andy Tate recycles, comes towards this stand side, and Cammy Thompson hits up. It's recycled by Tate. They're right on this stand touchline. And Terry Logan is the next one to have a hit up, and they've worked their way into the Selkirk half. Keith Melbourne has his first real attack of the day, and it's been recycled back to Dwayne Patterson, and his kick doesn't make much ground, but they've won a penalty due to offside. Selkirk were offside there, and Dwayne Patterson's got away on his first kick of the day, was a wee bit skewed.
Yeah, it was. I think he realised, to be fair, that it was a penalty, and he was just trying something there. It's interesting that there's certainly a lot of space down that blind side for Kelso. So in attack, they're punching up early doors with a couple of phases, and then coming back down that blind side. And our international Polish prop Zen was struggling there. He was shouting for people to come across and support and defend, but the defence wasn't there. So interesting tactic by Kelso. They've got a penalty, and these got to be key moments in the game. I'd be very surprised if there's a lot of tries scored today. So penalties in about the 10-metre line today for kickers like your Josh Welsh's and your Callum Andersons, the Hugo Alson. and obviously Dwayne Patterson. These are massive kicks.
Yeah, Dwayne Patterson's lining up his kick. It's in the middle of the pitch, but it's just outside the 10 metre line, so a fair effort. But as you say, Scott, there's not going to be a lot of kicks to touch. Dwayne Patterson just lines this one up. Starts his run up. We'll wait and see what the ARs think. And the flags are up, and it's the first points of the day goes by way of Kelso, and Dwayne Patterson slots his kick, and that'll give him a great confidence boost.
That's an excellent kick, outside the 10 metre line in slippy conditions, underfoot, and yeah, there may well be chances later on where they kick it into the corner, but any opportunity to take 3 points today is massive for any of the border teams.
So after 7 minutes here, it's 3-0 to Kelso, and now it's Selkirk's opportunity to get us back underway through Aaron McComb. And his restart goes fairly deep into the Kelso half. They've brought it out with the 22 now, and they'll recycling, work out how to get the way up the pitch. It's been turned over by Scott McClymonds to Selkirk. The captain's turned it over, and now they can have a bit of an attack from a promising position. It's recycled by Alderson. He manages to give it into Turnbull, and Turnbull hits up and breaks the line of defence. Alderson's recycled again, and this time the pass is fine to Ross Nixon. They've got advantage for the offside. And Finlay Whelans has managed to make another bit of ground. McClymonds again, the man who won the turnover, has a hit, but he's been knocked back by Terry Logan. And again, they've got a second advantage, so Selkirk got a bit of free ball here, and they go via out the backs, and Anderson has a go, but he's been well brought down. Alderson recycles. That's Westlake. He hits up as they come towards the stand side. Referee tells him to release, and Selkirk go again. They've got the advantage. Alderson comes towards the stand side. Westlake again, but he's well brought down by Melbourne. The referee's brought them back for the earlier penalty, and a nice opportunity there for Selkirk to win that turnover and then get up the pitch.
Yeah, it was a great turnover, McClymonds. What was really impressive was Hugh Olsen's his length of pass for scrum half under the conditions was really good. If that continues, then that will give Selkirk a lot of space in that back division. Really impressed with Kelso's defence. Terry Logan there made a huge hit in there and knocked the Selkirk player back. So listen, there's no love lost, is there? You can see that straight away with the big hits that's gone in.
Well, given the positioning of the penalty there, they've decided to kick the touch, and Adam McComb put a kick into that far corner from where we are at the front of the stand, and it's an opportunity now for Selkirk to score from 5 metres out, which is where you would think most of the tries, if there is any, going to be scored from, would be today. And that's Zwarzak, the Polish international, who collects and hits up, and Selkirk have the opportunity now from 2 or 3 metres out to get over the line, and forwards are going to hit up themselves and pick and go, and it's recycled. Selkirk will have another go here, just a metre or two short, but the penalty has went by way of Selkirk, so they'll get another go at it. And if that's what you think is going to happen today, when they get into their position, Scott, it's going to be pick and goes. Yeah, but again, the detail was wrong. That it was an overthrow in the line out there, and Selkirk done well to retain the possession, and then just the pick and goes. But for that detail, and that's be right off the line at phase ball, and that'll give them the opportunity and a good platform to drive over. And good spoiling by Kelso. They're putting pressure up front and the front ball in the line out, and that's what's to be expected today. Yeah, it's an experienced Kelso outfit today, but they've got filters of youngsters in there as well, but the experienced figures will keep them right. It's going to be another scrum. We're going to see a fair few of those today, and it'll be Alderson who'll put in for Selkirk. Alderson has 29 points from the boot himself this season. He was also in one version of the offside lines dream team. Alderson puts the ball in for Selkirk, 3 or 4 metres short. They've managed to get it towards and they go the blind side, and Westlake goes himself. He's managed to get some support there, and McClymonds was one of them who was straight over that ball battling with Bruce McNeil. And Selkirk try and recycle this ball, and Kelso are causing them problems. Some hands in from Kelso there, and it's Kelso who have managed to win the turnover penalty, and Selkirk will be disappointed with that, Scott. There's a real hunger and desire for the Kelso team there, isn't there? Your McNeils and your Cammy Browns of the world are just causing absolute mayhem in there, and that's about just looking after that ball and making sure that detail's right. I can't emphasise that enough. In a day where conditions are terrible, you need to get it right there. And scrum was under pressure there at Selkirk. The line out was 2 overthrows and the bounce now. So fair play to Kelso, they're putting them under pressure, and that's exactly what to be expected.
but you can see that energy for Kelso there, the wanting and desires there. So, you know, long may it continue. It'll be a cracking game today.
Yeah, a bit of a wasted opportunity there for Selkirk, and it's allowed Dwayne Patterson to clear his team's lines. And James Glendinning, the Kelso hooker, has the opportunity to throw in from the line out just outside the 22, and they've managed to, again, a bit of mercy for the line out, but it has been regallared by Kelso, and Frankie Robson was able to hit up, and they'll have a couple of phases through the forwards here. And that was Grant Shields who took the opportunity to, again, just outside the 22, hit up, and now there's a kick from Murray Hastie just to try and clear the lines, but it's no went miles, and now Selkirk have an opportunity inside the Kelso half, but again it's been spilled a few times, and it's the veteran Ross Nixon who's going to have to try and clear his sides lines and get a bit of composure, and it's managed to be recycled to the hands of Callum Turnbull. Alderson bang on halfway manages to recycle that and gives it to Schwarzak, and he's managed to offload it to get another hit up from the Selkirk forwards. It's a brilliant line ran there, and Pickles is through. Pickles managed to break the line of defence, and Pickles is still brushing off a few defenders, but then gets brought down, although they have won the advantage for the high tackle. So Selkirk playing with advantage as it comes by way of Macomb. Macomb gives it to Josh Welsh, and they put a wee kick in there just to see if it works with advantage. It doesn't work, and they'll come back for the penalty, but again Selkirk will now have an opportunity for points, Scott.
Yeah, but a fantastic line by Ben Pickles there, isn't it? And this is what's been happening the last few weeks when he's been playing centre. He was late into the season this year. He played on the wing to begin with, and then once he got his fitness up, he started playing at outside centre. And he looks a real threat when he runs those lovely angles around him. When you've got clever players like Nixon and Macomb putting you through those holes there, he becomes a very dangerous play. And what I would like to have seen is a wee bit link-up play there as well. You know, making sure that when you do make that break, there's potential players supporting either side of Ben Pickles' shoulder. But that's a wee bit better for Selkirk. It looks if Selkirk can get quick ball, I think they could put Kelso under a bit pressure defensively.
Well, the penalty this time was bang in front of the post and just inside the 22, so they're going to go for the points here, Selkirk, and it's Alderson who's lining this one up. As I mentioned, he has struck 3 penalties and 10 conversions so far, but he's missed this one. It was managed, it was a bit scrappy again, and Kelso trying to regather that one. It was a bit of a mess there, Scott.
I was just about to say that this lad's hardly missed a kick all season since he came to Selkirk. He's been a cracking signing for Selkirk, and he's got a really, really good boot in him. But wow, can you miss a penalty in front of the post?
Well, that was something you weren't expecting to see today, for sure.
And I think Terry must have knocked it on as well, so it'll be a Selkirk scrum.
Well, that's a bonus for Selkirk, and we'll have another chance right in front of the posts, 10 or so metres out, and it'll be a big push here from both sides, with Selkirk looking to get safe ball out of here and attack either side from a brilliant position with opportunities either side. They've got a great host of backs lined up to attack this one, and Alderson feeds the scrum. A big push by Kelso knocks him back a little, and Andy Tate's managed to get a foot in there that's kicked the ball out of the opportunity there, and Anderson's back to try and sort this one out for Selkirk. Tackle there by Robbie Tweedy for Kelso means that Alderson has to recycle for Selkirk, and McClimate, the captain, poses a little bit of a dance with his feet and then hits up, and it takes 2 or 3 men from Kelso to bring him down. Comes via the backs towards the far side, and again Ross Nixon's managed to breach the first tackle and then gets brought down, allowing Alderson to recycle back towards the stand side, and Turnbull gets heavily hitted there, and just not really getting anywhere just now, Selkirk, and it's the Polish international's Warjak that hits up the next time. He's had a fair few carries today already. There'll be more of them for sure. That's Westlake now, the new development officer for Selkirk, who hits up. And now the backs have an opportunity, and it comes towards this stand side, and Pickles again, who's already had one great line break, feeds Anderson. Then out towards this side to Welsh, and Murray Hastie was trying to make a tackle, but he slipped, and there was a knock on there by Selkirk, so Kelso will get a wee bit respite, but Selkirk trying a couple of different avenues there, Scott.
Yeah, in open play, Selkirk looked really dangerous. If they could get quick ball, they look very dangerous. What I was a bit concerned about was that scrum under the post there, and we didn't control the back of that ball of the scrum, and it came out the back. Fair play to Andy Tate, the Kelso scrum half, put pressure on Westlake at 8 there and disrupted ball, and that's Kelso's game at the moment. If they can keep disrupting and frustrating Selkirk, then I would say there's a way in there for certainly for Kelso. But a bit disappointing. Another lovely break, half break by Ben Pickles as well. Really showing his quality of why certainly in the Scottish side of things at age group level, he was certainly one to be talked about.
Yeah, just over 15 minutes played here. 3 points to nil, Selkirk lead. Kelso lead rather, and Andy Tate feeds the ball in at the scrum, and Bruce McNeil, the number 8, picks it up and he gives it off to Frankie Robson, who seems to be the first receiver today from the set piece. Andy Tate then recycles, and Kelso playing with the ball well inside their own 22, but you'd think there'll be a clearance coming in the next few phases. Andy Tate sets this one up, ready to clear the lines, and he feeds it back to Dwayne Patterson, and Dwayne Patterson puts his right boot into that one and kicks it towards us here in the stands, and a good wee clearance there from Kelso.
Very good clearance by Dwayne Patterson. What's interesting is Selkirk's been a lot of pressure on that 10 channel. I'm trying to make sure they make it as hard as possible to get that ball away from their own 22, but it was a good clearance by Dwayne. Takes you up to just short of the 10 metre line, and it'll be a Selkirk throw-in. And it'll be interesting to see if we can just make that line out click this time, and then certainly give you a platform to try and produce something else.
Yeah, a couple of messy line-outs so far, and James Bell try and rectify that with a decent throw here, and it has been collected by McClymonds, and Alderson now can feed the backs through the hands, and Westlake, the number 8, took that into contact, and again Alderson quick to try and get the ball into some more carries. Selkirk now working towards that left-hand side as they try and somehow find a way through this Kelso defence. And it's carried through by the forwards. James Bett has a hit. And again Westlake, he's had a fair few carries already today. He'll be keen to breach the first couple of tackles. Kelso causing a bit of chaos at the breakdown, and Alderson decides to go back towards the far side. Ross Nixon gives it to the backs, and the backs are loving it. Finlay Whelans takes it and gives a wee pop pass on the inside. And as you say, Scott, Selkirk are one that would have liked to have played in dry conditions today, because the backs are loving it out there. And again, the forwards are having a couple of hits to try and create some space out wide, and Ross Nixon this time gives it to McClymonds on a brilliant line, but the referee isn't happy. And he seems to think that there was a forward pass there, but the right idea there, Scott.
Yeah, and then the referee's in the best position to see that move. It's a great angle by Scott McClymonds, but just not quite. You can see it almost clicking, and Kelso just at times clutching at straws and just hanging in there, but they're doing the right thing by frustrating, putting pressure on the player, winning that 50%, getting up in their face, and at the end of the day, Kelso's winning 3-0, and there won't be that many points scored today, so it's really important to take every opportunity. And will we think about that missed kick in front of the post towards the end of the game?
Yeah, it's a nice advantage to have for Kelso, having the 3 points on the board. And as you say, Scott, there was a missed opportunity for Selkirk through Hugo Alderson, who lined up a kick just in front of the post but missed it. So as you say, it'll be important to see if that has an effect later on in the game. But I'd imagine Kelso will be fairly happy with how things have went so far, given the fact that they are up on the scoreboard and have managed to storm fairly well from Selkirk, and they're the ones with the ball in at the scrum just on their own 22 metre line, and Frankie Robson again takes the first receiver duties from the scrum, but it's been picked up by Cammy Thompson just on the edge of the breakdown, and he's went himself. Bruce McNeil has then followed him up, and they're making a little bit of ground. Calls for a knock on, but the referee says play on, and Andy Tate feeds Dwayne Patterson. Dwayne Patterson puts a kick in to try and work them a wee bit of territory, and for the first time in a wee while the ball's found itself into the Selkirk half, although Callum Anderson's doing his bit to try and get back into that Kelso's half, and Schwarzak, the Polish international for Selkirk, managed to carry that one into contact and won the penalty, and penalty counts ranking up there for Kelso.
Yeah, there's a couple of cracking hits there by Cammy Thompson there, the number 4 for Kelso, really putting his body on the line, and he just got caught there. Liam Tate just caught on the wrong side of the tackle player, and you have to work really, really hard to get away for that breakdown.
Yeah, Liam Tate made a nice wee pick and go effort, and they're the kind of grounds that will be needed in under these conditions where there's not a lot of play going through the backs, and how important is line-out success at this point when you're getting a penalty advantage, Scott? It's hugely important now to make the line-outs work.
Yeah, and we made that last one click with Selkirk there just now, and it's really important. Right at the top of his hand reach catch there, and it just creates a platform for everything else. And then you can dictate if you want to drive or you want to give it the quick release to the forwards.
And once again, Selkirk have made their line-out count, and the Climate took it and they brought in a driving maul just outside the 22 as they try and work their way in a dominant position. And again, Kelso trying to disrupt the breakdown, but Alderson recycles, and a lot of big hits going in, that's for sure. No love lost, as you say, Scott. And again, Selkirk trying to attack out wide, and that's Josh Welsh, who's found himself on the other side along with his fellow winger Finlay Whelans, and it's good to see him try to get involved in the action, not want to be cold on the touchline, that's for sure. And Selkirk try to create every opportunity in a little line break, as Alderson finds his way to the breakdown and recycles towards the stand side through Jvarjak, who's had into the double figures of carries already after 21 minutes here. As Selkirk try and find some sort of loophole in this Kelso defence, and Arne McComb stabs a little kick in that just tests Archie Barber's ability, and he takes it well and then puts a good kick in, and after an early mistake from Archie Barber, he's made no mistake there, Scott.
Yeah, that was really good positioning there. It's, nowadays it's that 50-22 situation there. The fullbacks have to be really on the ball and try and work with your wingers as well, and almost in that pyramid situation, and Archie done really, really well to cover that kick, but also then to stick it down the line as well.
Okay, I'll jump in here with some latest scores for you. In the Premiership, Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 13, Heriots Blues 19, Musselburgh 22, and Mar 14, Edinburgh Accy 6. And Grant Paxton has just received the first yellow of his career, and he's very upset about it. Here it's Selkirk 0, Kelso 3, in National 1, GHA 24, Watsonians 20, Ayr 14, Gala 7. A Cammy Rees try putting Ayr ahead in that one. And down at the Greenyards, Melrose 12, Highland 5. A Magnus Henry try in following up 2 tries for Melrose in National 1. In National 2, it's all over. Aberdeen Grammar 25, Newton Stewart 16, only their second win of the season. They stay in 10th place, but only on points difference behind Berwick, whose game is postponed today against Lasswade. Over at the Geights, it's Peebles 27, Falkirk 13. So a Finlay Collins try has now put Peebles a bit further ahead after Falkirk scoring a couple of tries themselves. Peebles 27, Falkirk 13, and the earlier match has ended Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7. The other game postponed today is in National 4. Murrayfield Wanderers against White Craigs, and of course Cartha Queen's Park and Hamilton also off in National 3, and it's full time in East League 1. Langham 24, Leith 27. So Langham's bogey side, Leith, getting the upper hand at Milntown there. You haven't missed any of the action. The injury's over. Let's go back to Scott and Ewen.
Yeah, Selkirk were a line out here, the third time they've had a line out from this position, just outside the Kelso 22 on the stand side, and again it's been well received, and again a driving maul is the chosen route, and at the back James Bett had it, but now went through the backs, and a nice wee play there, but it doesn't go to hand, which is expected in these conditions, and you can see what Selkirk were trying there, Scott.
Yes, you can see that they're looking for that inside shoulder there just off the line out. Some lazy runners looking to try and pick up those Kelso lazy runners in there. I just made a wee note, find ways to win. And it's got to be that type of game today. There's got a little opportunity, and Selkirk can play all the expansive rugby they want, but really at the end of the day, we need to play in the right areas of the field and try and find ways to win. It's the same for Kelso as well. Predominantly at the moment they're playing in their own half, and they'll be pretty desperate to get out of their own half now that they've got a ball and a scrum ball here, and try and play clever rugby and play in the right areas of the field. Yeah,
as you say, every penalty in your opposition's half is going to count today, and it's a Selkirk team who've managed to weather the storm fairly well in the opening stages, as Selkirk have had most of the territory under possession, but Andy Tate is the one who's going to feed into scrum, ex-captain. And a big shove from Selkirk, which was highly anticipated by the crowd here, and Bruce McNeil's picked up and had a bit of a run himself to try and get Selkirk back on side, and Keith Melbourne is the next to have a go himself as they try and build a platform that can maybe clear their lines here, and Andy Tate's having to get in and do some dirty work himself. The scrum half wasn't available at the breakdown, so Bruce McNeil had to pick and go, and scrappy few breakdowns there for Kelso, but Andy Tate managed to find it at the back of the rack and puts a box kick in to try and get into the Selkirk half, and despite Robbie Tweedy being up, they've no managed to get it, although there has been a knock on, and so, you know, Scott, these things are all going to count at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's just little bits of gameplay there. So McNeil carried hard, Melbourne carried hard, and then they put the box kick down the Sand side, and there was a knock on by Selkirk. And the little bits of game and get us all back into parity with Kelso playing up front, with Shields playing prop, bits and pieces like that. Just playing a less expansive game may well be the answer today for Kelso.
Yeah, as you say, every little thing's got to count here, and that seems like a big move there, and Kelso have made a big bit of ground there, and they've now got a scrum a further 20 metres up the pitch, just inside the Selkirk half, and Andy Tate, who found himself in that last breakdown, is now heat to foot in mud, so he puts the ball into the scrum and then ships it out, and Murray Hastie this time takes it at 10, gives it to Frankie Robson, the inside centre, who manages to make a few yards with two Selkirk men clinging onto him. This time Bruce McNeil is the one who receives it, and he has a little dance and then finds contact. And again, Kelso now recycle, and it's Dwayne Patterson who puts another little kick in, but again it kind of comes off the shin a little bit and a wee bit scrappy there, and Dwayne Patterson's been kind of 50-50 so far, Scott. Yeah,
sometimes his accuracy of kicking's actually very good. You know, that was possibly one to go in that far away right hand corner there, but again Frankie Robson hits up off the scrum, McNeil comes round the corner, probably if they wanted to again, somebody like Melbourne or somebody, Thompson would have came round there as well, but Thompson got the ball, and Dwayne Patterson got the ball, I should say, sorry, and try and put it down that bottom corner there. Probably the right game plan, just wrong execution.
Yeah, you can see some similar moves coming from Kelso over the last couple of minutes, and again it's a Selkirk line out. They've had a few of those recently, and again it was missed, so Kelso have a great opportunity through Cammy Brown, who manages to break a couple of defenders, and they're just a couple of metres short now through that miss line out from Selkirk, and Bruce McNeil has a go, and there's an advantage for Kelso, so they've got a free ball here just a couple of metres short, and Frankie Robson puts a pass in, but it doesn't go to hand, and a little bit scrappy, but Archie Barber's managed to get in, he's fairly clean, so Dwayne Patterson has managed to pick up the ball, and again there's still advantage for Kelso, so they'll look to build a platform to launch an attack. And Tate manages to have a bit of a hit. Andy Tate this time puts a little kick over the top to see if there was anything on with the advantage, and there's nothing there, so they'll come back for the penalty, but a wee scrappy there for Selkirk. Scotland has allowed Kelso to get a real attacking platform.
Another untidy line out that went over the top, and Cammy picked it up really well. Cammy Brown, obviously ex-winger, and he's got a wee bit turn of pace, and once they actually Kelso got in behind Selkirk there, they looked pretty dangerous. Obviously they had the advantage as well of the penalty, and it'll be interesting to see where they'll go for post or where they stick it in the corner again.
Yeah, Cammy Brown, who has 3 tries already this season, made that break, and it looks like Kelso are going to a corner, so Dwayne Parsons going to stick this one in the corner, and this could be a huge moment in the game.
Well, they're obviously feeling confident, Kelso. You're right. You know, there won't be that many chances and opportunities like what there is just now here, and Bruce McNeil's obviously running the show, and he's pointing and directing traffic as he's going along here. He feels confident enough to take this driving line out.
Well, the pressure's on James Glendinnin's shoulders here to get a good throw in here, 5 metres short of the Selkirk line. And it does go to hand, and Keith Melbourne was there to grab that one, and now a bit of a drive going on, and Selkirk, you would say, had the upper hand from the first push, but Kelso managed to turn this one round, and they're slowly making their way towards the line and becoming slightly more dominant now. I'm not quite sure who's got the ball at the back, but it's certainly in the hands of Kelso, and they've got the penalty advantage as well. Kelso managed to get a couple of yards gained there, but they've got Kelso had the penalty coming, so they'll get another go at it, and it looks like they're getting ready to take it quickly. Bruce McNeil does take it quickly and tries to catch Selkirk unaware. He's millimetres short of the line, but there's hands in there picking up and dropping it over the line, and I'm not sure exactly who's claiming it, but you know, as you say, Scott, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities, and Bruce McNeil took the call there, and he was obviously confident.
Yeah, well, you know, Bruce he's obviously the head coach here. Bruce took the quick tap penalty. I think it was Grant Shields they got under the ball there to score the try there. A bit good energy, you know, they got themselves into that area, that scoring zone in there, and the tempo just completely lifted with Kelso, which is the right thing to do. Selkirk would be bitterly disappointed, but that was all caused by an overthrow line out away back then, and fair play to Kelso, well played.
Yeah, they've definitely capitalised on that opportunity, and as you say, it was Grant Shields who arose from the breakdown of bodies with his hands in the air, claiming that one. And I think, as you say, it's going to be a great piece of momentum for Kelso going forward. But to have somebody like Bruce McNeill-Wall's experience calling the shots and taking the quick tap like that, that's bound to do all the players on the pitch a huge favour for Kelso.
He's still a very good rugby player, isn't he? You know, even when he played in the South last year, he was controlling the show and looked very fit. You know, he keeps his Sullivan trim, much like what Ross Nixon does at centre there. But you know, you see players thrive off that drive and enthusiasm, and he's one of those players where people will support and help him and work for him. And fair play to Bruce. You know, he's still working really hard in the game situations.
Dwayne Patterson strikes the kick to try and make this 10 points to 0.
Yeah.
And it is successful, and that's 2 from 2 today for Dwayne Patterson after 31 minutes, and he'll be very content with striking his first 2 of the day in what could be a game that comes down to kicking, Scott.
Yeah, and 10 points. To be 10 points in front is a big scalp, to be perfectly honest. You know, Selkirk can play all the possession and all the rugby that they want, and really to come away with nothing in that kind of first half an hour of the game, it will be disappointing to the coaching staff at Selkirk.
Aaron McComb gets us back underway, and again the kick comes into 22 on the stand side, but to be fair to Robbie Tweedy, he's managed to bring that one back a fair few yards before being brought down, and so they're outside the 22 now, Kelso, and they've spent a fair chunk of time here, so they know how to get themselves out of this situation if they can get things going their own way. Andy Tate getting bodies in the right positions, ready to clear their lines, but first it's going to go to Bruce McNeill to have another carry, just to buy them a little bit more time, a little bit more space to assess their options. Andy Tate this time manages to drag this ball out with his foot, and it looks like he'll put a box kick in. He does so high in the sky, trying to get it over halfway. It's going to fall short of halfway, but it has been knocked on by the fullback for Selkirk, although there was an opportunity lost there, and there was a little bit of a knock on earlier on. So again, it's all just a bit kind of, you know, because of the conditions, Scott, these things are going to happen today.
Well, Kelso sussed it out. You know, you've got some strong, senior, mature players in Andy Tate and McNeill, and they've sussed out if you put box kicks down the stand side, then Callum Anderson and Josh Welsh will be under a wee bit of pressure. You know, the kick chase game is really good. It's working for Kelso, so why change it? And they've got their danders up, Kelso. It would not surprise me at all if they get a phase play here and put it back down that bottom right hand corner and put Selkirk under pressure again.
Yeah, as you say, they've worked out this is maybe a good opportunity for them down this stand side. That's twice now in a row that they've managed to get a fair few yards gained through a breakdown in play after the box kick. So Andy Tate, with all his experience calling the shots at the breakdown, seems to be paying dividends, and he'll be the one who puts into this scrum just inside the Selkirk half on this stand side. This time the scrum seems to kind of go to ground, but the referee's happy, and Andy Tate will give the ball out to Hasty at 10, and then Dwayne Patterson with Frankie Robson running a great line that they would have liked to have seen create a wee bit more space, but Andy Tate then spots a gap deep in the Selkirk half and puts a wee kick in, and that just tests Selkirk out a little bit before Aaron McComb puts the ball and has to clear the lines. It was a nice wee spot of space there by Andy Tate.
And it's clever play by Andy Tate and clever play by Kelso. Know exactly what they're going to do. Hit up with Frankie Robson up front there. If there's no runners coming around the corner there, Andy will put it down the bottom corner there for try and look for a 50-22. Good rugby, playing in the right areas of the field, which was always going to be important when this rain came about a couple of hours ago.
As you say, Kelso are the ones who have this line of opportunity now, and from the last breakdown they've gained 15 to 20 yards worth of ground, so they'll be happy with that. And it will be Glendinning who throws into the line out. It's been well taken by Cammy Brown. Selkirk had a good shove on, but the driving maul from Kelso's stable, and it looks like Terry Logan has it at the back, and it gains a few yards now, although it's came to a stand just shy of the 22, and Andy Tate recycles to Hasty, who tried to play a little grabber in. It didn't seem to work this time, and there's a bit of a mess on, and Selkirk look to capitalise on this opportunity through Pickles. Again, his little kick through the little stab didn't quite work, and managed to be regathered by Hasty for Kelso. We'll be happy with that after giving the ball away earlier on, and then Tate puts the ball in with their space because Anderson wasn't there to cover, although he is back now just in time for Nick Stingle to put a little bit of a hit on him and try and halt his ground, and Selkirk find themselves on their own 22 with a bit of a messy ball, and players try to get back into position. So the ball's been recycled this time to McClimate, the captain, but Cammy Brown's done a good job of trying to hold him up, and now They've managed to keep the ball through Grant Shields, Kelso. So Kelso have managed to make a bit of a break. It's actually number 4, Cammy Thompson, who's managed to make that break. He's had a good game so far, and it's into the hands of Terry Logan, who runs a great line, but again, just held up short. Andy Tate's digging for the ball, and this time gives it out to Robson. Frankie Robson, the inside centre, out to Murray Hastie, then Dwayne Patterson. There's space on that far side, and it's Archie Barber who's going to go in, utilising that space on the far side, and Kelso have got their tails up, Scott.
Yeah, they have, and what a tremendous carry there by Cammy Thompson, really putting loads of pressure on, and then they recognise, and Murray Hastie recognised there was space out wide, and 2 really good passes, and Archie Barber's in the corner. Really good play by Kelso, an excellent carry by Terry Logan there as well. And really Kelso are looking by far, they'll actually look the home team and look by far the better side at the moment.
Yeah, well, Neil Hennigan made comment earlier on in the week that in a border derby that even a home and away fixture doesn't really come into play too much, and I think there'll be a fair Kelso contingent that have made the journey today, and you know that's the beauty of border derbies, the crowds that you can get, Scott.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think Kelso will be smartening that they got beat by Selkirk at the beginning of the season there. That Callum Anderson try that he scored just to pip them at the post that day, and the way Selkirk celebrated that day would have annoyed Kelso supporters. And you can see there's a strong Kelso contingent here today, and well, you know they're good for their money at the moment. 15-0 up.
Yeah, Dwayne Patterson is going to take this conversion from a similar position to where he took the last conversion, and he is 2 from 2 today, apparently a conversion to his name, and this would extend Kelso's lead to 17 points to 0. He strikes it, and on this occasion the assistant referee's flags stay down, so a 15-0 advantage, but that's more than Kelso would have took at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, no, that's really good to be fair for Kelso. A 15-0 in these conditions is very strong. And Selkirk have had their opportunities. It's not as if Kelso have not played well. You know, Selkirk have had real potential to score some tries. They've had a couple of poor scrums, a couple of poor lineouts, and it's Kelso have just recognised how to win that game. And I wrote it down right at the beginning of the game there. And Kelso have definitely got their danders up, and Selkirk are almost passive at times at the moment.
Selkirk have gotten us back underway, and again the Aaron McComb's restart went to that similar direction, this stand side, and it was just shy of the 22, and now Andy Tate will recycle through the forwards, and Terry Logan has a hit himself. He ran a cracking line into that in the phase before that last try. So the forwards definitely put in a shift today, and Andy Tate has got a wee bit of room to put a box kick in here, and that's one of his better ones, you would think. Again, this exact same position that Scott mentioned earlier, but on this occasion, to be fair to him, Callum Anderson took this one well, and now Selkirk look to get himself out of this situation that's cost them what's led to points in recent moments. 37 minutes played here, and they go towards that far side, Selkirk, and Kelso doing a good job just to not let anybody get past that line of defence. A couple of dominant tackles, and McClymont brings it towards this stand side, and Anderson again looking to make up for a couple of errors early on, puts a kick into Archie Barber's hands, but he's off the back of scoring that try, and he puts a nice wee kick in straight down the throat of Aaron McComb, however, and he'll now try and put a better kick in, and probably does so. A nice kick that's going to hopefully for Selkirk to go, and that's a clever kick. It's just shy of the try line there.
That's a fantastic 50-22, and it gives Selkirk the possession for this line out, and that's what I mean by playing in the right areas of the field. Suddenly Selkirk has opportunities to play a wee bit kick tennis, and then somebody like with an ounce and the desire like Aaron McComb to stick it in that bottom corner.
Yeah, Archie Barber is a fairly young player, and his kick just went right down the throat of McComb, who was always going to try and take advantage of the situation, and he did so, and now this could be a huge moment in the game as James Bett looks to try and throw this in with just a minute left to play, give or take, for some injury time. And Kelso secured the ball 2 or 3 metres short of the line on this stand side. Alderson gives it out, and they're going to go through the forwards, certainly through that first phase. And again, it looks like a pick and go opportunity, and it's Westlake who takes it at the back of the breakdown. Going to go in more sideways than their forwards at the moment, Selkirk, but it's all counting towards something. They'll look to try and exploit some space. They've got the advantage, so they'll be happy with that, but can they get a quick fire try before half time? There is a penalty coming, and Luke Petty has it at the back of the breakdown. Clever play out in the hands of the backs, but Aaron McComb knocks it on, but there was an advantage there, so they'll come back for the penalty, and there's almost a try tinkering there, Scott.
Oh, there was a try, definitely an opportunity to score a try there. Maybe not so much for Aaron McComb, but certainly put somebody else away. And good defence by Kelso. You know, they're fronting up really, really well. They probably understand that, you know, time is up in 40 minutes, and it looks like it'll be a penalty. So it'll be interesting to see what Selkirk want to do just before the half-time break.
Yeah, I'm going to let Stuart come in here as Murray Hastie's down with an injury.
Yes, indeed. We've got some latest scores, some full-time results. Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 16, Heriots Blues 24, Musselburgh 22, and Mar 17, Edinburgh Accies 13. All full-time results from the 2 o'clock kickoffs. Latest at Mansfield Park, it's Hawick 21, Jed Forest 0. 3 converted tries for Hawick, just on the brink of getting their try bonus. And here it's Selkirk 0, Kelso 15. The injuries dealt with now. Back to Ewen.
Yes, and while Stuart was giving you that update, there's been a yellow card for Murray Hastie. I'm not entirely sure what that was for, but Kelso will have to see out the rest of this half and a chunk of the second half with a man fewer than their opposition Selkirk, and this could be a great opportunity for Selkirk to really get some points on the board before half time, Scott.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know, it's all about detail, making sure this line-out's good. And Murray Hastie obviously not a happy camper at all, getting yellow carded. But huge opportunity for Selkirk to get back in the game.
James Beck throws it in, and although it was a bit scrappy to begin with, it was Jvar Jacques that's managed to recuperate the ball, and there will still be the attacking platform here for Selkirk, although the line-up was misfired. And it was Westlake, the number 8, who has a carry. He's done his fair share of carrying so far, 2 or 3 metres short of the line. And this time Luke Petty has a go himself. And again, there's a couple of quick pick and goes by the forwards who are all huddling around that ball, but Kelso doing a good enough job so far to stop anybody breaching that line and getting over the line. It's now just a case of getting over the ball, but it looks like there's been a turnover, although there has been a penalty given to Selkirk, and so no points as of yet, but Selkirk still just keep kind of pushing away at it, Scott.
These penalties that Kelso are giving away are crucial now. The referee must be thinking about putting his hand in his pocket again.
Luke Petty looks like he's going to tap this one, and that's going to be the route for this one, and it is Luke Petty who goes. There seems to be a knock on, and that's probably to do with the conditions, and there's a lot of shaking heads by Selkirk, but joys of belief from Kelso, and that'll be the half-time whistle, and that could be a huge turning point, Scott.
Yeah, and just look at the energy the Kelso boys running at the field and the Selkirk boys walking. You know, the massive lift to Kelso there. Steven that try just on the edge of the line there. And fair play, I think some excellent tackling in defence by McNeil and the likes. And really showing their worth and really showing their desire and want to win this game of rugby of the day. I mean, you can't hear anything from the Selkirk supporters and crowd. They've had nothing really to shout about, and it's the Kelso supporters that are getting behind their team at the moment.
Yes, a lot of territory for the team, but for the home team, but unfortunately territory doesn't always convert into points, and on this occasion it's the visitors Kelso who have a 15-0 lead at half-time.
Ewen, Welsh and Scott Tomlinson taking her through a breathless first half, and my goodness, it was all Selkirk right at the beginning, but then Kelso soaked up all that pressure and went down to get a couple of tries in this match, and Dwayne Patterson's goal kicking as well on point, so Archie Barber getting a try, and Grant Shields as well. So it's 15 points to 0 at the break here at Philip Hawke. I mentioned earlier full time at Balgray, Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 16, Heriots Blues 24, Musselburgh 22. A real ding-dong battle at Golden Acre, but Heriots, who are in 6th place at the moment, beating Musselburgh in 4th. We'll find out how that affects the table a little bit later on, but 24-22 to the men from Golden Acre, and Mar have got over the line against Edinburgh Accies. That's another defeat for Edinburgh Accies. I think it's their 5th on the trot, so that's Mar 17, Edinburgh Accies 13 in that one. Hawick 21, Jed Forest 0 is the latest score. That's the 3 o'clock kick-off. Selkirk 0, Kelso 15 in that one. Let's go to National 2 because Peebles have won. They've gone top of the table. Peebles 32, Falkirk 13. Here's the captain, Murdo Anderson.
Feels absolutely brilliant beating Falkirk, going top of the league. What we've been working on all season is just been epitomised in that game. The work rate and the tactics that we've been practising just showed that we were unstoppable when we got going. It was a little blip after half time, but we got back on top of it and put them to the sword, got the bonus point at the death, so we're absolutely delighted with that.
I bet they are as well. Murdo Anderson, captain of the victorious team, who've done the double over Falkirk. Remember, Falkirk were top of the table up to that match, but Peebles now go top, 32-13. Lasswade, their game at Berwick hasn't taken place today, postponed, and Newton Stewart, the other rivals for Peebles, lost at Aberdeen Grammar, and they got no points at all. So Peebles very much at the top of the table there in National 2. Ayr 21, Gala 14 is the latest score. Joe Stafford getting the latest try for Ayr. It's GHK 7, Dundee 0, and Melrose 17, Highland 5. 3 tries for Melrose. A couple of big results in Division 3. Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7. That was the game that kicked off at 1 o'clock. And Howe 5, 22, Preston Lodge 29. Preston Lodge stay top of the table. And we've also got Dumfries 17, Allen Glens 17, which is a full-time result, and that's not going to help Allen Glens promotion bid one little bit. Just getting the draw against Dumfries, who of course have been on the end of a few tankings over the past few weeks. We'll be back very, very shortly.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
To see the fantastic range of learning opportunities to study right here in the Borders, visit borderscollege.ac.uk today. You don't have to go far to go far. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whisky making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com for when the heavens open.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
I'm dying. Oh, I'm sinking in the crowd. Singing in the crowd. I'm praying out loud. I'm praying out loud. Will this taking my soul ever see? Taking my soul ever see? See if I can find myself some peace. Outside I play cool, but inside I'm hurting for you. Oh, darling, outside.
Music there from Darts. That's a song called It's Raining, which it certainly is here. There's no doubt about that. We can go to Mansfield Park for a half-time report. Hoyk against Jed Forrest. Alan Lorimer.
Is Hoyk leading 28 points to 5. 4 tries from Lee Armstrong, Stuart Graham, Dalton Redpath and Connor Sutherland, all converted by Kirk Ford. And Jed's score coming from flanker Elliot Lauder from a Mall line out. So half-time score again at Mansfield is Hoyk 28, Jed Forrest 5.
Alan Lorimer at Mansfield Park. Well, the Kelso team are out onto the pitch. We're just waiting on Selkirk. Kelso Sharks have beaten Selkirk A, by the way, in the Border Junior League, which has happened in the back pitches. A very wet back pitch at Philiphaugh. 19 points to 15 for the Sharks. Some of them are down there. One of them's got a shark on his head as well, celebrating, no doubt, a victory today. And, of course, congratulations to Hoyk Force, who won the title last night. They beat Melrose Storm at the Greenyards to win the inaugural Border Junior Cup, certainly in its revised state. So Hoyk 28, Jed Forrest 5 is a latest score at half time there at Mansfield Park. Selkirk 0, Kelso 15. Selkirk beginning to make their way onto the pitch now. This is a result, in fact, from National 3, Dumfries 17, Allen Glens 17. Latest from National 1, Melrose 17, Highland 5, Ayr 21, Gala 14. That's a half-time scoreline. And GHK 7, Dundee 0. So both teams back on the park. We can now go back for second half commentary. I'll just tell you that Ayr have equalised. It's 21-21 at Millbrae. Ayr against Gala. Let's rejoin Scott Tomlinson and first of all Ewen Welsh.
Okay, Stuart, yeah, we're getting ready for the second half here, and a few changes for Kelso. I see Ashton Asantes came on for Terry Logan. And there might be another substitution, but I'll bring that to you when I can identify players. But for now, Anna McComb's got his back underway and has kicked, this time Selkirk attacking the town end. And Kelso have regathered it, and Andy Tate now puts it deep to Dwayne Patterson, who puts a kick in it to try and clear the lines. Remember, Kelso have lost Murray Hasty to the sin bin, and they have 7 or 8 minutes left of that to deal with. So Anna McComb puts a kick into the sky to try and clear their grounds for Selkirk, but on this occasion it's no went miles, although Scott McClimate picked it up for Selkirk, and they find themselves just outside the 10-metre line and now trying to build a platform. Zwarzak, the Polish international prop, he's took it for Selkirk and he hits hard and runs a line, and now it's been recycled, and that's Westlake who's dancing amongst defenders for Kelso, and he's made some good ground, so they're now into the Kelso half and not hanging around too long, trying to utilise the extra man. And that was Andrew McComb who hit up for Selkirk, and they'll come back towards this side. Alderson makes a decision. Westlake feeds Nixon, and Nixon gives out to Anderson. There's McClimate who decides to go back inside and try and find the space, and it takes 2 men to bring him down. Alderson will then pass it out to James Bett at hooker. So still Selkirk ball as the edge closer to that 22, and Zwarzak hits up and recycles. He's done a bulk load of carrying today for the hosts, and now Nixon sees a bit of space and can attack, and then gives the pass to Anderson, but again a knock on from Anderson, which has happened 2 or 3 times today. And although Dwayne Patterson was there to gather it, they will come back for that knock on, and that's maybe been an issue for Anderson as an individual, was maybe a couple of knock ons, but that can only be expected in these conditions, Scott.
Yeah, he was probably still sunning himself in Dubai, to be fair to him. Last place he would want to be is here in a rain pour in Selkirk. It was a really good continuity play by Selkirk. They're keeping possession. I imagine they'll have had a hard time under the clubhouse at half time by Sesh Henderson. And it was actually a really good defence by Bruce McNeil coming across the plane and just making an absolute nuisance of himself and causing that knock on. I think Kelso are going to have to scramble at times. 15 points in a day in conditions like what it is a lot of points. And there's got to be opportunities for Selkirk today. It's about if they can take them, or whether Kelso can defensively still keep going with 14 players for the last maybe say 6 minutes.
I think Angus Commoners came on for Cammy Thompson who had a great first half. Andy Tate feeds this Kelso scrum, and they're just 10 metres short of their own try line, so they'll be looking to make something happen here. And the scrum's going to be reset, and scrum will be an area that could play a huge part of the second half, Scott.
Yeah, I would say Selkirk were certainly second best in that scrum in that first half. Sheila and Logan were certainly dictating things, so it'll be interesting to see how the new prop Aston Asante gets on here against Petty on this side as number 1 and number 3.
Ashton Asante, who has been in training recently with Scotland under 20, which is a huge asset for him and for Kelso as well. And as you say, that kind of knowledge from that kind of setup will play huge dividends when it comes to a gritty second half here.
I think that's acknowledgement of Kelso in general and the way how they're progressing young players and coming through. I think they're doing really well. You can see that in the Borders Academy stuff that I help out with. That there's a lot of really good Kelso rugby players coming through, and that's great for the club. And they're being given opportunities as well, which is great.
You talk about confidence, and Bruce McNeil's running with confidence here as he tries to run out of issues that have been in their own 22. And although Nick Stingle put a little kick in, there was a touch off a Selkirk hand, so Kelso will get the throw in at the line out, and that was a different way to kind of clear lines, if you like.
It was a fantastic break by McNeil off the back of the scrum. That scrum ball for Kelso just got up on the right hand side and gave McNeil enough room to take off. And Stingle would have been looking to kick that ball as far as he possibly can down that touchline, but McComb done well to nurture it out.
Yeah, you talk about the young guns in the Kelso outfit, but there's plenty of experience in the likes of Bruce McNeil, and he'll have played in plenty of games that have went in this kind of muddy fashion. And the line out from James Glendinning hit his man. Cammy Brown took it well, and it's been well performed into a driving maul, and Ian Herd watches that touchline, but Kelso have kept it well inside, and Frankie Robson received that one. Remember, Kelso are playing without Murray Hasty for another couple of minutes, and they've won the penalty, so they've managed to get out of this one fairly easily. And Bruce McNeil's having a bit of a pop at Westlake, the number 8 for Selkirk. And
I think what we're seeing now is Kelso's trying to slow the clock down and controlling the game really, really well, and that's frustrating Selkirk. Selkirk will be looking to try and get a really good start to that second half, and that's frustrating them. And Westlake done a couple of silly little things there that has cost points, and now cost Kelso to be down inside the Selkirk 22.
Yeah, Kelso will be very happy if they could see out the remaining Sinvin period for Murray Hasty without conceding any more points. Remember, the visitors Kelso lead here at Philip Hawkby 15 points to 0. And it'll be James Glendinning, who has had a fairly successful day after maybe a couple of opening issues with a line out. The Kelso line out's fired, and now they'll have a chance to attack just inside the Selkirk half. And again, Cammy Brown takes it down well, and again that driving maul's set up. So a repeated performance, and Glendinning has it at the back. As the vocal crowd here in the Philip Hawke stand try and get behind the home side and try and see how their defence holds up here, but that driving maul is still performing well, and although it's broken into a single man run, it's Keith Melbourne who's hit up, and that's a great bit of ground bought by Kelso, who make ventures. Remember, they're a man down, and Dwayne Patterson sticks a little kick into where there's a lot of space, and it just holds up short of the try line, so Kelso will have to try and make ends meet here. And I think Anderson again found himself with a bit of a job to do, and it has been carried back, so Anderson not having an easy game.
Yeah, but clever rugby by Dwayne Patterson there. There was actually probably opportunities to take it on in the backs there, but he knew that the kick was the clever option, the better option, to put them under pressure, and it now becomes a Kelso scrum 5 metres from the Selkirk end.
Yeah, Dwayne Patterson very much maturing from playing Premiership rugby, and as you say, Scott, there's been a seismic difference in how Kelso have kind of performed as they kind of learnt about the Premiership since this first encounter between these two sides at Poynter Park, where Selkirk just edged it a little.
I'm being really impressed with Kelso. They had a tough start to the season where they were obviously struggling with a couple of injuries, but they're really starting to produce a good, strong strength. With a wee bit depth. Player pool, and they're actually looking a very good side at the moment.
And you'd imagine that Kev Utterson, the Kelso coach on this stand side touchline, will be very happy with the way that his side have seen out having the extra man. Although on this occasion Selkirk have turned over and managed to win a penalty on their own 5 metre line, so that'll give them an opportunity to clear the lines. But I think I speak for the team, and they would much rather be further up the pitch, Scott.
Yes, no. Well, I think Selkirk understood that it had to be a massive scrum there, and that, unfortunately, that will have wiped the smile off of Kevin and McMinto's face there, because they were purring away. They'd be really absolutely delighted at how Kelso had performed in the first half, and certainly how they performed at the beginning of the second to clear their lines and get down the pitch. I would say 15 points is a huge margin, though. If Kelso can keep playing at the right areas of the field, that'll put Selkirk under huge pressure, and they'll have to start pushing the boundaries a wee bit.
Yeah, they'll have a confidence boost coming up soon as well. I see Murray Hastie's on the touchline getting ready to come back on from his sin bin, so there's only a few minutes left of that. As Selkirk's James Bett throws in a line-out throw which doesn't go to hand, and Keith Melbourne picks it up for Kelso, and he has a go himself. So again, 15 metres short, if that, for Kelso, is to try and get some more points on the board early on in this second half. Kelso with their tails up. Remember, they've got a 15 points to nil lead in this border derby, and Asante has his first proper big hit of the day, and he makes a couple of yards, although albeit mainly he went sideways there, but he'll grow with confidence into this game. As Selkirk recycle on this far side, although their backs are quite tightly in there, although on this stand side rather, Nick Stingle's screaming there's a little bit of space, although on this occasion it's not going to come his way because there's been a knock on that far side and a bit of scrappy play, but at the end of the day it'll please Kelso because it just ran that clock down.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Keith Melbourne. I've watched him now 3 or 4 times, and he's a real scrapper, isn't he? He's right in the middle when it comes to driving lineouts. He'll carry a ball. He's all arms and legs at times, and he's causing havoc with the Selkirk defence. So they're not very sure how to take him. If you've got him and McNeil carrying ball and causing mayhem, and along with Cammy Thompson and Cammy Brown, you've got a strong pack there, and the elements are playing in Kelso's favour at the moment.
Yeah, Keith Melbourne, the Irishman, a product of the Rockwell College in Munster, moved here to be with his partner, and it's been a great asset for Kelso. Selkirk have the scrum inside their own 22, and they'll be looking to try and get a bit of territory gained here. And Alderson puts it into that scrum, and Tate's hanging around like a bad smell trying to see if they can get ball here, but penalty's been awarded to Selkirk and hope for an opportunity to get up that pitch, Scott.
Yeah, and that's another scrum went the Selkirk way again, and I just seen Mick Minto look at Terry Logan at the moment, and they'll be looking to try and get Terry back on. Terry will not be able to play 80 minutes, but he certainly put a really good shift in a scrum time, and they'll be looking to try and put Terry on in a wee while again, get him back on that field and shore up that scrum, because they'll not want any paramount there with the Selkirk park.
Yeah, well, these kind of types of games, when you get penalties allowing you to gain 30 or 40 metres, that can be huge. Yeah. And it's going to be a Selkirk line out now just inside the Kelso half, so they've gained a fair bit of territory just from that scrum, so they'll have a little bit of confidence. But Murray Hastie, remember, is back on the pitch, so they're back up to even numbers. Both teams were 15 on the pitch, and there's been a knock on by Kelso, so Selkirk again have a bit of a scrappy ball, and so they choose to kick it, and Robbie Tweedy has that ball, who then puts a good kick in over the top of the defenders, and Selkirk are now going to have to try and see how they're going to get out with this situation, and Alderson puts boot the ball and stayed in field, and now it bounces out. So a bit of a to and fro there, but both teams back up to full strength now, Scott.
Yeah, it was a great kick by Robin Tweedy there. He was very unlucky not to get a 50-22. If I was the Selkirk coach, I'd be seriously looking at trying to make some changes in here to try and mix this game up a wee bit, because it's clearly not working with the line-out situation is an issue here, and we're not playing good territory ground as well. We need to be playing in the right areas of field, and the longer this game goes on, the difficult it will be to try and get that 15 points.
I don't care what's going on over here. I'm one referee, and it's me. Okay.
Referee just having a word with the two captains about some issues with the back and forth between but they're very vocal squad, Scott, so you can expect that.
Yeah, it's in a border league game as well. No love lost between the two. Selkirk went down to Pointer Park just not that long ago and won that game, so Kelso's not got to take a backward step at any point today.
Yeah, Kelso have the line out after both captains have been warned, and an opportunity for Kelso to build up more of an attacking momentum, and Keith Melbourne takes it in at the line out, and the maul is formed, so Kelso have safe ball, and it's Bruce McNeil again who takes charge and says no, I'm going to run with this, and does get through a couple of the first defenders, and Now they've got a bit of a momentum, and Murray Hasty freshly back on the pitch, following his sin bin, gives it to Patterson. Patterson to Barber, towards the stand side, and Stingle. Stingle has a bit of a dance and tries to get past defenders, but is eventually brought down. Calls for a knock on there by Andy Tate, but he's managed to play with that safely in his hands, and Ashton Asante has his third or fourth carry of the afternoon, the replacement prop, as Kelso try and recycle this ball. Come back towards the stand side, and Patterson dances with the dancing feet, eventually gets brought down by the Selkirk captain McClyman, and Andy Tate recycles, and again Ashton Asante back on the ball. You remember he carried just a few phases ago, so he's obviously keen. Then Murray Hasty, who tried something special there, didn't quite work, and Selkirk could try and attack this through McClyman. McClyman's got the ball, Kelso on the back foot, and McClyman eventually gets brought down, but Selkirk have the ball in hand, and although Dwayne Patterson had a hand in there, and it'll be interesting to see what happens here, because Patterson used that to his advantage to try and buy some time there, Scott.
Yeah, to be fair to Patterson, that ball was lifted though, to be fair. He was quite entitled to go for that ball.
He played the ball in the hand at the same time. It's a penalty, it's a yellow card. They're on the attack.
Scott, would you make of that as a referee?
To be fair, he came through the middle, and I thought the ball had been lifted by then. There is a penalty there for impeding the scrum half in a situation where Selkirk had the ascendancy as well. So I think he'll be pretty disappointed when he understood what he was trying to do, though. Well,
Only a couple of minutes after they were brought up to full strength following Murray Hasty's yellow card. They're now back down to 14. But remember, they have got that 15-0 lead, so but they know that they can handle 10 minutes with a man less, so they'll be looking to use that as a bit of confidence.
Yeah, I think they'll be disappointed because they were in a situation there just in front of the post in the Selkirk 22 where if they just kept the ball and keep plugging away, maybe even a 3 points would have came. Whereas now Selkirk's now on the 10-metre line there. They've brought Andrew Grant Sutty back on the field, who looks as if he's playing centre, who's got to give him a wee bit more go forward, I would say, which is probably something that should have happened at the start of the second half.
Yeah, Grant Sutty will add a great bit of ball knowledge into this Selkirk team as they try to find a way back into this game. And at the moment it is Selkirk who have it just outside the Kelso 22, so they'll look to try and get some points from this attack, but that ball's been spilled, but the referee's going to bring them back for a penalty, and they've now got a penalty in a kickable position. Scott, what would you want them to do for here?
Listen, they've got two choices here. They stick it in the corner or they go for the post. I would suggest probably go for the corner here and try and get that driving line out going.
And that is the choice, and Callum Anderson has kicked that one into the corner, and they will have the 5-metre line out in a huge moment in the game, this, Scott.
Well, you've got a good driving line out with Selkirk, and you've got Andrew Grant Sutty there at 13 that can get you go forward in the middle of the park. So, they've got a platform there. It's all about getting that detail right, and I've mentioned it right from the start, is getting that line out right and on point. If we can do that there, we're halfway there.
Selkirk then with a line out on the Kelso 5-metre line with an extra man. And McClyman takes it well, and this has been well worked, but Westlake's going to take a hit. That's Kieran Westlake on his third appearance. But again, things haven't quite went right for Selkirk when they've got in these final stages, and a knock on there. And Bruce McNeil is very chuffed with that, and the whole Kelso team are in rounds of applause because they know how big that is, Scott.
No, it's really interesting with Kelso. Their energy is really, really high when they're defending inside their own 22, and then when they're attacking in the 22, their energy levels become really high again, and you can see that's benefiting them. Young Glendinnin's had a good game today at hooker.
Yeah, Glendinnin's making way, the ex-Gala man. He's made way for Ewan Knox. Ewan Knox, who's featured in all games for Kelso so far this season, and he'll bring a great bit of front row knowledge to this Kelso side, who now have two replacements in that front row as they try and regather some strength at the scrum. And as the knuckle down, Andy Tate, 5 metres from his own try line, is going to try and orchestrate some sort of attack from this. Remember, they have a man shorter than Selkirk despite having a 15-0 lead. Bruce McNeil, as he has done a few times this afternoon, takes it in his own hands at the back of the scrum and has a bit of a run and does get past the first defender, and it's been recycled and heat to foot in mud. The Kelso players will now try and clear their lines. Andy Tate digs for that ball with his left boot, plants a foot and then puts in a box kick, and Finlay Whelan was trying to get to the end of that, but instead thought, no, I'm going to just hit the first man, and then did hit Nick Stingle after he took that ball, and the kicks went in down the throat of Pickles, and Pickles dances around the first man, then puts a little chip over the top. He won't get to it. That'll be down to Nick Stingle. But now Aaron McComb has it with a bit of space, and then Grant City on that far side. Grant City off the bench to inject some life into the Selkirk backline. Remember, they have got an extra man due to Dwayne Patterson's yellow card. Selkirk trying to get something from this next attack, but again they've conceded a penalty here, and it's just things just aren't quite going to plan for Selkirk.
Selkirk are playing a lovely open game of rugby where you're looking for offloads, and then you have to look after the ball. You know, I don't know who took that ball into contact just now, but he didn't fall on the ball. He went to present, and Kelso was right over the top of it and won the jackal. I mean, just simple stuff, you know. And Selkirk are struggling a wee bit here. We're just not firing on all cylinders, and it's actually really disappointing for the crowd as well, the Selkirk supporters.
Bruce Riddle has came on to feature in the front row for Selkirk, as is Liam Cassidy. So some new life in the front row, especially at hooker in Bruce Riddle. This is his 13th game this season, so he's featured in all games. He also played for the South at the inter-district competition last season, so he brings with him some experience. And Kelso have the ball after winning their own line out just inside the Kelso half, and they make decent ground here with a driver maul. They've definitely got their ears pricked, and now they'll take it to ground and try and recycle. And Andy Tate with a hand in the air calling the shots for his backs to get organised, but first it'll go through the forwards, and that was Angus Common who hit up, and now Keith Melbourne, who's done a bulk load of carrying so far today, has another run. Cries for offside, but Kelso will still recycle it, and Robson will have a go at the captain. Doesn't really make any ground, but there is a bit of space on that far side, and Calmy Brown, who's had a great game, dances through the first man before slipping and coming to ground. But Andy Tate quickly recycles, and it's the prop Grant Shields who got the first try. He's working his way towards the line, and Kelso are definitely on the front foot here. There's space on this far side, and Nick Stingle's got his hand in the air, but at the moment they're going through the forwards. Ewan Knox, fresh off the bench, has his first carry, but doesn't really get anywhere, and instead it'll be recycled, and Andy Tate will give it to Hasty. Hasty will then give it out to Tweedy. Tweedy's brought down. Grant City's brought him down, but it'll be recycled again, and Andy Tate, quick with the hands, gives it out to Hasty. The looping pass out to Stingle. Can Stingle dance his way to the try line? He's certainly over, but can he get the ball down? It's been held up on this occasion, but Kelso with a you know, they've got the ears pricked Scotland. They're definitely trying to hunt for that next try.
Yeah, it was good defence by Selkirk, but really impressed with the attack, Kelso.
Selkirk have taken the opportunity of there being nobody home to take it quickly and get that ball as far deep down their own half as possible, and the ball has now found its way back into the hands of Finlay Whelans just outside the Selkirk 22, so they're not really getting anywhere at the moment, and although they have won a penalty, to be fair to them, so this is an opportunity now for Selkirk to really try and get up into the Kelso half.
Yeah, Nick Stingle was offside there and just creeping round the corner. Really good play by Melbourne, Cammy Brown, and Grant Shields had a lovely angled run there just prior to being held up on the line by Nick Stingle. Kelso are playing well, but they'll be really disappointed that we had all that pressure up there and not came away with points, and we've let Selkirk back in the game again.
20 minutes into the second half, and still Kelso lead by 15 points to 0. It's been a scoreless second half, and Callum Anderson has put a beautiful kick in for Selkirk, and Bruce Riddle will have his first line out to deal with the day for Selkirk just outside the Kelso 22. And the throw's a bit of a misfire, but it's been alright, it's been collected by Selkirk, so they will have the platform to launch an attack here. And despite Selkirk's best efforts, Cammy Brown's had a great effort for Kelso and turned it over, so he's had a great game, and Andy Tate's done well to quickly put a kick over the top of the heads. The running the winger for Selkirk, and although it has went into touch actually,
so it's a great kick by Andy Tate, really clever, great turnover by Cammy Brown again, and then Andy Tate had the sense, knowing that the Selkirk back division were really going to attack, to stick it over the top of them. Yeah, and that's been the key moments for me just now. There's been some senior players in the Kelso ranks there that just have known exactly what to do at the right time, and that was one of those moments.
Yeah, Neil Hinnigan did say that there was a bit extra on the line in this one due to losing that game at point during the dying moments the last time out, but you can just tell that they're so keen to see this one out, and they do have that 15 points to 0 lead as the ball is thrown in by Bruce Riddle for Selkirk on their own 22 metre line, and desperate to try and get some territory further up the pitch and try and get some tries, because that's what's going to be needed as we head into the last 20 minutes of this one. The ball's right down the throat of Nick Stingle for Kelso on the halfway line, as Ewan Knox tries to get in to try and secure that ball for Kelso, and now Andy Tate is there, planted his foot in, so the ball is secure. And they're having a bit of a pop at the referee, Selkirk. They're trying as much as they can.
Yeah.
But it's Kelso who have the ball recycled, and Bruce McNeil's there, and he's had a great game in terms of orchestrating how things are working and having some really good calls on what to do when. And Andy Tate will now, with 3 or 4 bodies of protection, will now have a go himself and puts that boot to ball. And it's wet down the throat of the full-back for Selkirk, Callum Anderson, who has had a better second half in terms of errors. He's managed to secure ball for Selkirk as they just outside their own 22-metre line try and secure some ball for a period of time, or work out how they can get further up the half. But on this occasion it's the experienced Ross Nixon who has a bit of a knock-on error there, and things just not quite going to plan, especially for the senior players at Selkirk.
No, listen, it's all about pressure, you know, and Kelso getting up in their face and shutting their space down, and really got high energy in defence to put the Selkirk team under pressure. What I've just wrote, that's 8 times now there's been overthrow lineouts today, and you just cannot win games of rugby, especially in conditions like this, if you can't control your own lineout ball and your scrum ball. And to be fair, Big Zen's coming off the field, and it's not really been his. He's actually played well today. It's not really been his fault, but certainly the lineout's certainly not functioning at the present, and you're not going to win, and you don't deserve to win any games of rugby if you can't get that right.
Yeah, early on there was a few big moments for Selkirk in terms of, you know, a go into a corner which didn't come off, and then a kick at goal which didn't come off, and you think that they could have been pivotal moments in this one, Scott.
Yeah, we talked about the kick at goal. The goal in front of the post was a major moment in the game. You know, would that make a difference to later on? But at the end of the day, there's been a lot more than that. Kelso certainly deserved the 15-point lead. What I would be disappointed from a Selkirk kind of supporter is the lack of ambition and the lack of kind of support you get. You know, we're not giving the supporters anything to go by, you know, and really you need that crowd behind you in games like border league games like this.
Yeah, the stand here at Philip Hawke was officially open today, but the crowd haven't had a huge lot to cheer about. The Selkirk now launching an attack just outside the Selkirk 22. I think Selkirk have pretty much emptied their bench in a last gasp hope to try and get some points here, but you know, 20 minutes to go. It's still Kelso who have that 15-point advantage, and attack just outside the Selkirk 22. That was the number 6 Liam Tate who carried on that occasion. He's had a few carries today for the visitors. Bruce McNeil again calling the shots as Angus Common has a hit into that Selkirk defence. The replacements having a fair few say with the carries, just showing how much it's taken out the players. Well, the carries that have went on today, a lot of physicality in this one, as you would expect in these conditions. Andy Tate takes it down that far side for Kelso, orchestrates the forwards to go down that far side rather than coming towards this side. Although Nick Stingle standing with his arm aloft, saying that there's space. Callum Anderson for Selkirk has managed to turn it over and puts a little kick in, and is still going, to be fair to him. But Selkirk have managed to get back and just get over the ball, and Callum Anderson had a fair solo effort there to try and make ends meet, but for Kelso it was Nick Stingle who's managed to kind of get back and secure that ball, and now the forwards are over the top, so a wee bit of safety, although Andy Tate's kick has went straight into Bruce Riddle's back, but the referees brought that one back, and a bit scrappy there in general, Scott.
Yeah, and if I was Bruce McNeil, I'd be having a wee quiet word with Murray Hasty just to say keep the ball in our hands, because every time they kick it they put Selkirk's under the ascendancy and put Kelso under pressure. And that's been the difference really at the moment. You know, any opportunity that Selkirk's got is just be the Murray Hastie's little kick that's just maybe not quite worked out. There just seems to be more energy coming around the corner for the Kelso team. I think Grant Shields had an excellent game of carrying ball, along with Melbourne and Cammy Brown and also Liam Tate. I think has had a really good game as well. You know, there's just an understanding there with Kelso. They seem to know what they're wanting to achieve every time they get the ball in their hands, and you can't see that clarity with Selkirk at the moment.
Okay, here's the latest. We've got Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 16 full-time result. That was played at 2 o'clock in the Premiership. Also in the Premiership result, Heriots Blues 24, Musselburgh 22 on that one. Mar 17, Embrackis 13 full-time result. Latest we have at Mansfield Park, Hoyt 28 with the try bonus, Jed Forrest 5. Down here, of course, it's still 15 points to nil to Kelso. No scores in the second half. In National 1, Biggar 37, Glasgow Accies 26. 22 is a full-time result. GHA 27, Watsonians 20, also a full-time result. It's Ayr 28, Gala 21, GHK 10, Dundee 0, and Melrose 31, Highland 5, their latest scores from National 1. And quickly into National 2 to tell you the full-time results. Aberdeen 25, Newton Stewart 16, a big surprise there, and Peebles winning 32-13 against Falkirk.
Yes, well, 50 minutes to go here at Philip Hawke, and Kelso have the scrum just outside their own 22 with a 15 points to 0 advantage. And the big shove from both sides, despite slippy conditions, and Bruce McNeil's took it out and gave it to Frankie Robson, the captain of Kelso, and he hits up, but it's took two men, including Aaron McComb, to bring him down. Screams for a bit of a turnover, but on this occasion Kelso have managed to regain their possession. Dwayne Patterson's back on the field following his time on the touchline for the sin bin, and he'll be eager to end with positives. So Kelso now attacking, Selkirk rather, attacking with the ball through Callum Anderson, who's had a much better second half for him personally, and Andrew Grant City's found himself on the ball, their replacement, coming back from injury. He'll be looking to have a positive influence on the end of this game, as Selkirk look to get a try, a glimpse of anything really with 50 minutes to go. And Kelso are trying to stem that as much as possible. On this occasion they've won the penalty, and again it comes down to that ability of Kelso just being able to capitalise on opportunities with the ball being there for them. Scott.
We're not Selkirk's not looking after the ball and the contact, you know. And in a situation like today, you've got to fall on the ball and then present and look after that ball and have two supporting players there. Selkirk will not win any ruck ball with just one player going over the top of the ball, while everybody else is out trying to look pretty in the backs. You know, the hard graft has to come in, and a fair play to Kelso. They're working really, really hard off the ball to try and get their ball in their hands to control the game, and then they're doing really, really well with it. I'm very, very impressed with Bruce McNeil. I mean, for me, the clash today was about the number 8. You know, yes, it was won and lost up front, you know, within the front rows, but the clash between McNeil and Westlake, who's the Super 6 player, and McNeil's absolutely destroyed him today up front, and that shows the class that Bruce McNeil is.
Yeah, Kelso now have managed to use Dwayne Patterson's boot to get much further up the pitch, and they now find themselves just outside the Selkirk 22 with the ball in hand. And Ewan Knox's throw into the line out was first slipped through the hands by two Kelso players, I think, but it's been regathered by that man that you were on about, Scott, Bruce McNeil, and he's managed to regain a bit of composure and give it to Keith Melbourne, another player who's had a standout game, and he fends off the first two defenders and then gets brought down to the ground, but they've got the advantage for the high tackle, and Andy Tate knows that, so he'll give the ball out to try and get a bit of an advantage. And now it's been quickly recycled, and Dwayne Patterson, who also knows there's an advantage, turns around, run around past to the stand side through Tweedy and then to Nick Stingle, and Stingle slid in, and it looked like he might have been in touch, but Ian Hurd said that it was fine, and that you would think would be the end of that, Scott.
What a fantastic try, you know, a great tidy up at the back of that by McNeil, and then Melbourne made a really excellent angled run. But then the nous and the cleverness by the Kelso Park division, and I think it was actually Tweedy coming off his wing. I mean, he straightened up and then gave to Stingle, and Stingle was a really good finish. He still had a lot of work to do, but he almost like dived in the corner like a little mouse, didn't he, to score that winning try. Well done. Well,
with that advantage, you could just tell that the experienced heads, Andy Tate and co, managed to know what there was on offer for them, and the actual ball moved so quick from left to right that I even muddled up half my words. So it's been a nice sliding try there for Nick Stingle, who also can play scrum half, so he's had a good game on the wing, Scott.
Yeah, I coached Nick when I was at Jed. He's a really good player. He's played sevens for Germany. Obviously parental relations there. He's a good player. He's very fit. He's got great feet as well, and he's actually really quick. He's very deceivingly quick, so he might have found his position on the wing.
Dwayne Patterson's lining up his kick on the stand side. It's probably most difficult kick of the day to extend their lead to 22 points, and on this occasion it just kind of drifts across the front of the posts, but at 20 points to 0 with 10 minutes to play, and the way the game's unfolding with a kind of more up front battle, Scott, you would say that's a game.
Yeah, and I would not underestimate how hard it can be to score 20 points in these conditions. And Kelso at times have made it very easy, just playing basic front running rugby. We're getting leg drive going and getting in behind the Selkirk team, and it's proven to be successful for them today.
Yeah, a dejected Selkirk 15 now restart through Aaron McComb, and it's straight into the hands of Murray Hastie, who then puts the ball himself and gets the ball into touch on the 10 metre line in Kelso's own half. So Selkirk will now have an attacking platform, but they've got their work cut out, Scott, to try and get anything in this game.
Yeah, if you think back to the last home game, which was Mar, which was a 50-pointer defeat, and indeed, it's looking like 20 points at this present time. There's a lot of soul searching to be done in here. I would have expected that Selkirk team to come out firing today with the loss of Dave Firth. 50 years ago he was captain. And, I would have thought that would have meant a lot to this team today, but they've struggled at times. They really have.
And just as you say that, Selkirk have managed to misplace the ball, and it's fell into the hands of Dwayne Patterson, who's then fed the man outside him, and Robbie Tweedy will hair down that far side, and he will get brought down eventually. But suddenly Kelso have the attacking platform just outside the Selkirk 22, and Andy Tate will recycle to Ewan Knox, then to Patterson, and Patterson puts boot to ball with a crossfield kick in these conditions. Shows how much confidence they've got. And Cammy Brown, although he's had an outstanding game, just failed to gather that one on what would have been an unlikely try there, Scott.
It was a beautiful kick by Dwayne Patterson. Kelso have really got their danders up, and Cammy just needed the easy football skills possibly. No wonder he's smiling there. Just the football skills would have got him over the line, and he tried to pick it up in conditions like this. Just hoof it, give it a wee kick, he would have been fine.
But that just shows that this is a Kelso team who a couple of performances in the next couple of games, a couple of wins, and they're in with a shout at a playoff place. They're obviously first season back in the Premiership, and God knows how long they're so up for this.
No. I'm really been, as I said all season, I've been really impressed with Kelso, how they're going about their business, nice and quietly as well, and taking scalps when they can. And this is not really a surprise when you've seen the teams on paper. He just knew that Kelso were going to come here with a lot of confidence. Even speaking to Neil Hennigan, he knew that they were going to bring something to the party today.
Quick update from National 1. It's Ayr 28, Gala 21, GHK 10, Dundee 3, Melrose 32, Highland 17, and full-time results in Division 4, North Berwick 31, Strathmore 0, Perthshire 51, Ross High 22. In the bottom of the table, Clash and Stuartry 40, Dunfermline 26. That is a full-time result.
Ewan Thompson for Kelso's came on. He's replaced Keith Melbourne, who's had a great game himself. Made a couple of great huge line breaks in the build-up to tries and attacking platforms, so I'm sure he'll be happy with his performance today as Ewan Thompson comes on for him in the second row. Selkirk with a scrum on their own 5 metre line due to that knock on, but Kelso have won the penalty, and Scott, the reaction of that with a penalty there, with you'd say they've won the game 20 points to 0, but the reaction of that penalty just shows how much they're committed to this.
Yeah, they're in total control of the situation here, and I think the 50 points by Mar and now 20 points at the moment is certainly hurting Selkirk, and they've went completely into their shell. And fair play to Kelso. Kelso just came here with a full structure just to play. Not play exciting rugby, but you know what? Once they got points up, they've actually played really, really well. They've used the ball really well. They've had a high skill set when the times where they needed to pass that ball, and used good footwork to get over the gain line. They thoroughly deserve the 20 points at present, and it would not surprise us again if they clinch a bonus point.
Yes, Dwayne Patterson's knocked this one in the corner, and Ewan Knox will now have to throw it in the line out 5 metre short of the try line. It's been turned over by Selkirk in the line out, so that Selkirk will have a chance to clear their lines.
Don't go early.
Kelso lining up to try and charge this one down as Alderson takes it at the back of the breakdown. Bullies were in the way, but he's managed to clear his line successfully. But Scott, before this line out, I'd just like to touch on, Selkirk set their sights for the playoffs to begin this season. They're going to fall short of that. How do you assess that as a coach?
Yeah, I think Selkirk have struggled at times this year. That they had a fairly poor start to the season, and when you consider where we are now with 4 wins compared to the Kelso's, I think we're actually look a long way short compared to Kelso at the moment, and that'll be worrying. I'll be worrying for the Selkirk supporters. I always think as a coach you have to try and go out there early doors in the game and get that crowd behind you and give them something to cheer about. There's not particularly been very much to cheer about today at all, and that would worry me as a supporter, but also worry Sesh Henderson as well, and the coaching staff, because they need to get something out this season here now, and that needs to be a lot of hard work and a lot of hard graft to get there.
Yeah, of course, safety in the Premiership is pretty much guaranteed for Selkirk, obviously due to Jed's way of form this season, leaving them in the position of going down to National 1. But back here on this pitch, and Andy Tate has recycled it for Selkirk, shy of the Selkirk 22 metre line. And Kelso will look to try and get another try chalked on the board. Murray Hasty is on the far side and he's got it in his hands. He's been lively today. He was yellow carded earlier on, but with his time on the pitch he has been lively with the ball in hand and orchestrated the team around him well, as has Bruce McNeil, who's found himself trapped in amongst that ruck. And Selkirk have turned it over and will launch an attack man on man, and they put the ball and try and find a bit of space, and it has went over the top of Dwayne Patterson's head, but he will be back in plenty of time to weigh up his options here. And he's got Mark Wilson outside him, the replacement. He's come on the pitch to see this game out. And Alderson, with that ball went down Alderson's throat, he's picked it up and he'll now put the ball a wee spiral in behind the Kelso defence. But Dwayne Patterson is there.
Outside.
And a bit of a kicking game back and forth here. And the ball goes deep. There's a bit of a kind of, Ross Nixon's had a bit of a dance with it.
Yeah, it concerns me that, a very big game of kick tennis at this opportunity, 36 minutes into the second half, and we're playing kick tennis when we're 20 points down. It's a bit worrying that there's, we need to have a wee bit of energy there, and when we have got the ball, let's keep the ball and play a wee bit of rugby with it. Kelso, on the other hand, are more than happy to play that kick tennis game and waste the clock and waste the clock down,
Yeah, just a few minutes left in this one, and Selkirk with their heads down at this point, you would say, due to the scoreline, of course, 20 points to nil, Kelso lead. And Kelso will have the scrum just inside the Selkirk 10 metre line, so plenty of opportunity for Kelso to launch an attack through their backs. And Selkirk still have a few minutes to see this one out, but at this point it looks like they're going to get nilled on home soil, which in a border derby is never going to please your supporters.
Yeah, I agree, Ewan, and at home as well. The least we can do is get that support behind you and get some points on the board.
Dwayne Patterson takes it forward for Kelso, and the dummy line by Mark Wilson is exploited, and then Robbie Tweedy put a nice ball in, but he was a bit of a late hit and the crowd got behind that a little bit. The visiting supporters were pretty vocal about that one, but Wilson's up on his feet and he seems okay, so the ball is played on as per normal, and Selkirk set up a bit of a platform to try and clear the lines. First through McClymont, he'll hit up the captain. We'll hear from him probably at the end of this one on Rugby Radio, as Alderson recycles and will now box kick it up into the sky, and it gets left by Barber. Rightly soaks it well into touch, and Kelso just seeing this game out, Scott.
Yeah, it's interesting with Alderson. He obviously can kick a good box kick, because that's 2 or 3 times in the second half. And we never thought about doing that in the first half. Now, whether that's a tactic for Selkirk to make sure that they play an expansive game, but when conditions are like this, it's almost impossible to play that expansive game. You win parity up front, you get go forward ball, and then you use the backs then. Exactly what Kelso have done today.
And for Kelso especially, 21 days since our last game, they've had a long layoff. Yes, that helps with boys coming back with injuries, little niggles, but that's a long time without rugby, so to come back with a performance like that, that's huge game management.
Yeah, I would say they look very strong and in control of the situation. At all points today, you could say Kelso look in control of the game, and that's exactly what you're looking for your Andy Tate, your Murray Hasties of the world, your Dwayne Patterson, your McNeil, your Melbournes of the world.
Yeah, we have entered the 40th minute on our clock here, but there will be a few minutes, you would think, of extra time just due to injuries and whatnot. So Kelso backs are having a bit of a dance, and Mark Wilson, the replacement, gives it out to Robbie Tweedy on that far side, and again he's hit quite high and gets the advantage for that high tackle. So Kelso with the advantage and on the 22 metre line into touch, but they'll come back for the penalty, and that's been a few high tackles in this one.
Yeah, it was really good back play by Kelso there. Look, very crisp ball out in front. A really accurate passing to get that ball to Tweedy on the wing, and Tweedy's looked strong in the wing in the second half.
Yeah, in the second half, you could clear to see that the rain stopped and the ball's maybe a little bit drier, especially from line outs and that, with the opportunity to dry the ball. So you could tell that the ball of the hands was through the backs there. It was quite slick. It was quite clever, and is that a tactic that's used, Scott? The drying of the ball at the line out, then if that first phase ball is quite clever.
Yeah, listen, I think by all accounts Kelso will be looking to try and get that bonus point try now. They'll be really pushing to try anyway, by hook or by crook, by trying getting this try here at the end and really finish off a fantastic day of rugby for Kelso Rugby Club.
Yeah, 3 tries, looking for their 4th, and they're a short drive short. They're just 4 metres short of the try line, and at the back they've got the advantage as well, so Kelso will be really looking forward to hopefully getting a try out of this, and it looks like they're just short as 30 bodies heading around, but it looks like the arms are aloft, and Kelso with a bonus point win with time almost up here, and again there's a few hands looking for it. I think one of them is Ewen Tomlinson. He seems pretty confident that he was the one with the ball there. Bruce McNeil's also head to foot in mud but smiling, and you can see his white teeth. I think the only thing that's showing there, Scott. But a bonus point victory for Kelso. You know, Neil Hennigan spoke how important this was during the week in terms of off the back of the return leg, and this is huge for Kelso.
Yeah, and if this is never, I mean, as I said before, they've been quietly going away about their own business there, but I mean, for me, this is a massive wake-up call to say that Kelso's now back. As normal borderers would know, Kelso's back in the thick of things. We have known that for a good couple of seasons, but this really for me sticks a real stab in the ground to say Kelso are back and really meaning business, and could potentially take some other scalps before the end of the season here. For a Selkirk point of view, we look very, very dejected, and I think there'll be a lot of soul searching. We came out at the start of the second half looking to mean business. And then there's just been a lack of accuracy there at scrum time, a lack of accuracy at lineouts. We talked about 8 to 9 overthrows today as well. So, there's some issues there that Selkirk need to address very quickly.
Dwayne Parsons lining his kick up. This will be the last play of the game. He has a stab at it. This will see to 27 points. And on this occasion, that kind of sums the day up. The flags are aloft. Keith Melbourne's dancing about the Philip Hawke pitch, and the hands are getting shaken. Kelso will be buzzing for this win. 27 points to 0, they're going home, and Scott, I mean, that's 27-0 in a border derby on home soil. Selkirk are going to be pretty dejected after that.
Yeah, well, but listen, let's not take anything away from Kelso. They have played really, really well today. They've played with a mannerism that befits of how they've been competing in the first division this year. They play with huge experience. They look very organised. They're very, very well equipped when you've got Andy Tate and Murray Hastie there and Dwayne Patterson that can keep the ball at the other end of the field. And their forwards have been, Selkirk's Park's been second best here today, and they were second best a couple of weeks before at Mar. So, great play for Kelso. Really, really, really pleased and happy for them, and it's great to see somebody like Kev Utterson get the rewards for the coaching.
A bonus point win, 5 points at this point in the season. I mean, that's huge in terms of the league table, because Kelso now, they've got a couple of big games coming up, don't get me wrong, but they're well within a shout of finishing the playoff places, Scott.
Yeah, I was having a look just prior to the game, and Kelso have got some big games to coming up, but if I was the Currys and your Mars of the world, I'd be seriously concerned about playing Kelso. For Selkirk, I think there needs to be a lot of soul searching done there. We just did not play with the type of conditions that should have been, playing in the right areas of the field, and at scrum time really, with Shield and Logan there at the scrum, it's always going to be a tough up front, let's move the ball, let's move the target, and that didn't happen today, but fair play to Kelso, thoroughly deserved their win.
Yeah, Selkirk don't have much of an easier game next week because they have to travel up to Stony Hill and Musselburgh, which is it's a difficult game in itself. But then for Kelso, I mean, they couldn't have much of a better fixture next week because they would love to play Mar at home now, pretty much straight after this one.
Yeah, and who would bet against them for really giving them a good run for their money? Kelso at home in Pointer Park with the Kelso crowd in the stand jumping. I think they're just playing. They're playing really good, positive front forward rugby. And and fair play to them. Bruce McNeil and Mick Minto and your Kev Hutt's got them going really well, and just playing a standard rugby that the boys are obviously enjoying, because you can see they're enjoying it in their faces.
And as for Selkirk, briefly, Selkirk are they're not going to meet their goals that they set at the beginning of the season, but now it's a case of they're going to have a couple of games left this season. They've got Border League fixtures probably after that, and then obviously 7th season. But it's all about building it next season now, because the thing is you've been safe this season because of Jed Forest and the way that's went at Jed, but the bonus is that next year you're not going to have that, so you're going to have to Selkirk's going to have to be very aware that next season they're going to have to come firing.
Well, I think, truthfully, Selkirk's 2 wins have came for Jed here, who have struggled this year, So the other two wins have came, to be fair, against against Glasgow Hawks and obviously Kelso at Pointer Park, which was a last-minute win. So Selkirk's have not had the problems to seek this year. And it'll be interesting to speak to Sesh afterwards to see look where we've got to go for here, because you're not going to win any games of rugby if you can't get that platform right. And the lineups and scrums certainly failed in those opportunities today. And
it's not even like that Selkirk are made up of individuals that aren't up to the quality. You've got players in there, Kieran Westlake, Super Series player, Zwarzak, the Polish international. There's quality in there.
Yeah, and then you've got Andrew Cochrane and Andrew McComb there, South District player there as well. You know, Bruce Riddle was off the bench and came on. Sutty that came on as well from the bench. I would suggest possibly there should have been a change made at the beginning of half time, and I would have brought Nixon in at 10 and I would have brought Sutty at 12. But that's for another day.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the kind of conditions where things can happen all the time, and that kind of rounds off the game today. And you know, Kelso 27 points to 0. The visitors here to Philip Hawke, and they've been convincing winners.
Thank you very much indeed. Excellent commentary there from Ewen Welsh and also from Scott Tomlinson. So Selkirk being nilled on their home patch, and that doesn't happen that often. We can go to Mansfield Park now. Jed Forrest, obviously, the visitors at Hawick. Here's Alan Lorimer.
Final score at Mansfield Park was Hawick 59, Jed Forrest 12. As the scoreline suggests, it was a resounding victory for the Greens, as expected, of course. In all, they ran in 9 tries, 4 in the first half by Lee Armstrong, Stuart Graham, Dalton Redpath and Connor Sutherland. And then in the second half, they continued the onslaught with tries by Callum Rennick, Andrew Mitchell, Russell Anderson, Charlie Welsh, and a final one by Declan Lightfoot. Kirk Ford kicked 6 conversions and Kyle Brunton 1. For Jed, who always kept in the fray, there were tries. It was tries by Elliot Lauder and Clark Skeldon, and 1 conversion from Don Buckley. Final score, Hawick 59, Jed Forrest 12.
So into their 50th month, would you believe, of being unbeaten at home. A big win for Hawick there. Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 16 was the result from earlier. We can hear now from head coach of Hawks, Andy Hill.
Another disappointing loss for ourselves. Felt as if Curry probably just managed the game slightly better. We played a lot of good rugby, as did Curry, but we probably played a lot of the rugby in the wrong areas of the field and made a patch probably about 20-25 minutes in the first half where we had to really score, and we come up short, particularly just before half time, and we're held up just over the line and get done for holding on. So it's a hard one to take. The only positive really is that we got a losing bonus point out of it, and then we need to see obviously what happens with Hawick and Jed just to make sure that we've got our safety secure.
Andy Hill there from Glasgow Hawks, the head coach. We can also hear from Conor Bickerstaff, one of the try scorers today, captain of Mar.
Yeah, really tough conditions today out there. It was a heavy pitch against a big Accies pack, so I think we did brilliant to come away with the 4 points in the end. Thought we managed the second half very well and had some great defence, especially when we were down to 14 men. Credit to Accies at the end, they pushed and got a bonus point for finishing within 7 of us, but for us it was all about getting a home win and keep momentum going, and we've done that, so we can rest, recuperate a few sore bodies after today, get ready for next week when we've got that tough away game down to Kelso. So yeah, we just got to keep going, keep pushing. Hopefully we get a good win on the road next week, and that's what we need to do going into New Year. But great win today, we'll enjoy it and we'll move on.
There we are, that's Conor Bickerstaff from Mar, of course, captain of Mar, and a win for Mar there against Edinburgh Accies, 17 points to 13. Glasgow Hawks losing 16-12 to Curry. Heriots Blues 24, Musselburgh 22, Hawick 59, Jed Forrest 12, and of course Selkirk 0, Kelso 27 was how it ended here. And well, victorious. I think there's a Bruce McNeil under all that mud, but he's joined us at the back of the stand now. That is some victory to nil Selkirk on their home patch and to score a try bonus right at the end, 27-0. That's a good day's work for you.
Absolutely. Listen, we've had a few weeks off, and I have to credit the boys for their commitment during the 2 weeks off. They bought into the fact that the weather conditions stopped us playing for a couple of weeks, and we decided that we would work really hard through the 2 weeks and make sure that we came into this game fully prepared. And they came down in their numbers, their droves, and we worked really hard, and it paid dividend there. And the reward, for the effort we put in the past 2 weeks, that reward's just phenomenal, and it just means that, we keep the ball rolling, and we enjoy training, we enjoy getting better, and we enjoy the victories just as well.
Well, the first 15-20 minutes of the game, we were cricking our necks to the right because it was all Selkirk, but you soaked up the pressure, and that's the mark of a good side.
Yeah, I think we need to be patient in defence and never get tired of defending, and sometimes we've been bad for, when teams have purple spells, we give penalty away and we piggyback them into our 22, but it's just making sure that we understand that teams, especially Selkirk, will have purple spells, and it's just how we deal with it, not getting impatient in our defence and just keeping our shape and believing in our fitness and our work rate and Dozer's there working in our defence and whatnot, and trusting our systems, trusting each man outside us, inside us, and it paid dividends there, and I believe that our work rate without the ball probably won us that game then.
So it was 15-0 at the interval. What was the talk at half time?
More of the same. I thought our energy off the ball and the 50-50s were getting to them, and it's difficult to keep that for another 40. Listen, we were 19-0 up against Selkirk in the previous fixture, and we threw the game away. We never threw it away. Selkirk played really well in the second half, and we just kind of laid down. So it was a case of more of the same, and making sure that we just kept working really hard. We had a strong bench, and I thought the bench came on and added a lot to us, and it's just trusting what we've done and our work rate, as I say, in the past couple of weeks when we've not had much rugby.
You played 20 minutes with 14 men as well. One of them wasn't you. It was a bit of a change, isn't it? Dwayne Patterson getting a yellow, and I think it was Murray Hastie got the other one as well, but no Bruce McNeil, no yellow cards against your name today.
I could have done with you.
A 10-minute break would have been quite nice out there in the conditions. But the fact is, again, playing 20 minutes with 14 men and still not conceding.
Yeah, I think we train with 14 men and 13 men. Sometimes we play games, numbers down in defence, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't much of a spectacle, to be fair, but I don't really care, because games like this is won and lost without the ball and discipline and whatnot. And I believe we're still firing shots, we're still trying things, and our passion's there, and all the things that me and Kev can coach, we've got that in abundance. We just need to make sure we stick to it, and listen, we need to work on our discipline, as every team does, with and without the ball, but these things can be worked on if you've got character and want and work rate and wanting to wear the jersey. A lot of these things can be fixed quite easily.
Incredible season it's been for you, isn't it? First time back this century in the Premiership. A lot of people thought, you'll be sort of, battling to avoid relegation, all the rest of it. But you're in the 30 points. You're not far away from playoffs, and you've got Mar next week at home. And at Pointer Park, you'll fancy playing anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're not getting carried away, Stuart. We are where we are, and we know what we've got in that changing room and in the squad, and we've got a very strong under-18 team, a very strong Sharks team, and everybody's fighting for positions for the jersey, and it's difficult for me and Kev to pick the team because there's so many guys coming down to train and putting their hand up, and it's just credit to the club. They've got things right in the background. Higgs is there working away, and the committee and stuff, and it's a pleasure to be there, to be fair, and it's never, since I've been there, it's never been a job, it's never been hassle to go down to training, because the guys come down in abundance with energy and wanting to learn and stuff, and it's just a pleasure for me and Kev to go out there and try and make me and Kev better as coaches, because they want to learn, they want to try new things, and they want to win ultimately.
Well, the last time we covered Kelso at Pointer Park, and it was a second half only one, and this was against Musselburgh, if you remember, and you were about 38-0 up at half time. Don't do that next week. Of course, we'll be doing the commentary. Save your best till last, but it's going to be some game, isn't it?
Yeah, we look forward to it. We've still to kind of take that box of beating a top team in the league, if you want to call them that, which they are, and they'll be coming down fully loaded. I would imagine so. And listen, it's another challenge, and we need to enjoy tonight and park it, and get back to the training field on Tuesday and really, really fire into these boys and make sure that they know that they've been on a bus journey, and we go hard for another 80 minutes. But listen, there's a big reward at the end of it, and we've got a fair break as well, so we can throw everything at it and just hope we can get some sort of result.
But it's a huge result for the club today. Well done, congratulations. That's Bruce McNeil, 27 points to nothing in the game against Selkirk. We're hoping to get some Selkirk reaction, but a big win for Peebles today in Division 2. They won by 32 points to 13, and we can hear from the captain, who's Murdo Anderson.
Feels absolutely brilliant beating Falkirk, going top of the league. What we've been working on all season is just been epitomised in that game. The work rate and the tactics that we've been practising just showed that we were unstoppable when we got going. It was a little blip after half time, but we got back on top of it and put them to the sword, got the bonus point at the death. So we're absolutely delighted with that.
Murdo Anderson there from Peebles, victorious captain, doing the double over Falkirk. That is a summer result for them. And of course next week we will be at Lasswade for the Lasswade game against Peebles, which should be some events. Peebles obviously going to the top of the table today. In National 1 we can tell you Biggar 37, Glasgow Accies 22 is a full-time result. GHA 27, Watsonians 20, Ayr 35, Gala 21. Still waiting on the result between GHK and Dundee. The last we'd heard it was 15 points to 8 in favour of GHK. Melrose 34, Highland 22 is a full-time result there. Also in National 3, Dumfries 17, Allen Glen 17 was a full-time result. Howe Fife 22, Preston Lodge 29, Orkney 29, Boroughmuir 7, and West of Scotland 20. It's Hillhead, Jordan Hill 31. Well, there's just time at the end of the programme to bring in Scott McClymont, the captain of Selkirk, and obviously Scott, a very disappointing result, and as a captain being nilled in front of your home fans, very disappointing.
First time that's happened, to be fair, in a long time. Got beat up today all over the park, I felt. Fair play to Kelso, they came at us, and I just didn't think we matched their hunger and desire today.
The strange thing was that you were, in the first 10-15 minutes, you were all over them, but they soaked up that pressure.
They did.
They're a great defensive side.
We did kind of hit them with a couple of line-outs and scrums and try to kick the post, and nothing was happening for us. And they kind of soaked that up, and then came back. And then they were getting fair joy for their box kicks today, and Tatey was hitting them, and we were kind of on the back foot for that as well.
So what happens now? I mean, the last time you were here, you shipped 50 points against Mar, which was obviously disappointing. No game last week for you. You go on next week though, and hopefully wipe the slate clean and get a result before Christmas.
Maybe get back on a bus and see who might help us, but it's been a couple disappointing weeks, to be fair. And I thought, again, having the week off last week would kind of come back a bit fresher, but we just looked just second best all game.
Obviously disappointment. Any positives you can take out of that?
Struggling. Maybe when I look back, maybe we can find some, Stuart.
Well, obviously not the greatest moment under Selkirk's history, but thanks for coming up anyway, Scott, and all the best for the next week, which of course you'll be up against Musselburgh at Stony Hill next week. So thanks very much indeed to you, and that's just about it for the programme today. We can tell you in the Premiership there were wins for Curry, Hawick, Heriots Blues, Mar and Kelso. In National 1 the victories went to Ayr, to Biggar, to GHA and to Melrose. Still waiting on the GHK result against Dundee, of course, but check out our website a little bit later on, and that result will be up there as soon as possible at rugbyradio.co.uk. In National 2 it was a win for Aberdeen Grammar. Gordonians against Stirling was off. Berwick and Lasswade was off, but a win for Peebles and also a win for Stewmel at Kirkcaldy. We can look at the league tables now. Hawick first 61, Mar second 56, Curry are on 51, Musselburgh 40, Heriots Blues 38, Embrackies 37. Then in 7th place it's Kelso who have 35. 8th it's Selkirk on 25. 9th Glasgow Hawks 23, and Jed Forest in 10th place with 4 points. In National 1 Ayr top the table unbeaten on 13, 63 points for them. Highland in 2nd 40. Then it's Melrose 39, Glasgow Accies 34, Watsonians 34, Gala 33. Also GHA in 5th on 34. My goodness, it's tight in the middle, and Biggar have 29 points. In 9th place it's going to be Dundee regardless of the result, and GHK in 10th position. So it's been a very, very packed programme. Thanks for listening. We'll be back live from Hawthorndean next week. Lasswade against Peebles, and also the second half coverage of Kelso against Mar. From the team, goodbye.